Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting for the City of Crescent City. Madam Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Westfall?
Yes, here.
Councilmember Burns?
Here.
Councilmember Murray?
Here.
Councilmember Flirt?
Here.
And Mayor Shalong.
I'm here. Thank you. Ms. Murray, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have just come out of closed session, and our attorney, Bob Black, would you please report out on any final actions taken?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. No final actions were taken in tonight's closed session.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a few acknowledgments this evening, and so we are going to start with a proclamation recognizing July 25th through the 31st as Americans. Yeah. I thought maybe somebody had a radio on.
Little echo.
Americans with Disabilities Act, 20th anniversary week, and the Executive Director, Chris Jones, is she here? Okay, well, we'll go ahead and read this. Whereas 20 years ago, on July 26, 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law, guaranteeing equal opportunity for people with disabilities in public accommodations, commercial facilities, employment, transportation, state and local government services, and telecommunications. And whereas the ADA is steadily driving policy changes that have enabled more people with significant mental and physical disabilities to live independently, safely, and happily in our community. And whereas each of us has a 20% chance of being a person with a disability and a 50% chance of having a family member with a disability, and these numbers are expected to increase as our population ages. And whereas the City Council of the City of Crescent City are proud to join together to commemorate this anniversary as we reflect upon the impact that the ADA has had on our country and commit ourselves to furthering its implementation for the welfare of all of our residents. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Kelly Shalong, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of July 25th, 2010 as Americans with Disabilities Act 20th Anniversary Week in Crescent City and urge all citizens to join in this celebration. So we will make sure that Chris Jones receives this. And I would just like to say that our city has been very progressive in working with the ADA, and we have a joint city-county committee that works on our ADA issues. And I think this week we're actually fixing some of our ADA ramps on H Street. So
Right across the street.
exactly, that's what's happening right out here tonight. So thank you to our staff. Next, we have a presentation to Rick Perez, the manager of Home Depot. Rick, are you here? Hi, Rick.
I was going to do a little introduction for Rick,
Oh, okay.
if that's all right.
Sure.
And I'm Jim Barnes, the Public Works Director. And we in the Parks Department wanted to thank Rick and his staff for all of the Rick and his staff, every time the product in the garden department gets to where they don't feel comfortable selling it, they provide it and call the city and say they have something, and then we come down and pick it up. And they provided over 1,000 annuals and roses and over 100 trees and shrubs and sod and all types of things from the garden area. And their cooperation has affected the way the city appears, and we really, in the Parks Department, appreciate what they're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. So I'm going to read this Certificate of Appreciation awarded to Home Depot store manager Rick Perez and his outstanding team in recognition of the donation of landscaping materials to the City of Crescent City. And this is signed by myself, but on behalf of the entire City Council.
Thank you.
Appreciate all you've done for the city, and it's nice to have you doing great things that show up in flower beds and in parks. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Big thank you. It's always a pleasure to deal with Rick.
Well, it's nice just in general to have Home Depot here for the community, so thank you. And please pass our thanks on to your staff as well. Okay, next we have a proclamation to honor our wonderful young football player, Mr. Buck Pierce. He has actually just been signed on to play professional Canadian football with the Winnipeg Bombers.
Blue Bombers.
Blue Bombers, sorry, thank you. And he actually just opened up their season and won, and I think I read that he scored 3 touchdowns. So he's doing a fabulous job up in Canada, but representing Crescent City and Del Norte County. And if I'm sure many of you read in our newspaper here locally, just a couple months ago, he was here with the TSN television group, which is comparable to ESPN here in the States. And they did a fabulous piece on Buck and his family and his friends and his football career here in Del Norte County. And we're just very excited to have Buck representing our community. And tonight, Mr. Slurt thought it would be appropriate that we recognize his accomplishments. And so we have a proclamation in his honor. And unfortunately, his family could not be here this evening. So Mr. Slurt will make sure that they receive the proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The proclamation honoring Buck Pierce, former resident of the city of Crescent City. Whereas Buck Pierce attended local schools and graduated from Del Norte High School in 2000, and whereas during his years on the Del Norte High School Warriors football team, Buck was a 3-year starter, guiding the Warriors to a 16-4 record as a junior and senior. He passed for 2,225 yards and 25 touchdowns as a senior in 1999, earning the Big 5 Conference Most Valuable Player honors for the 2nd consecutive season. He broke the school's single season and career records for both passing yardage and passing touchdowns in 1999. And whereas, while he was a student at New Mexico State University, he did not throw an interception in 2001 and did not throw one in 2002 until the 4th quarter against North Texas in the next to last game of the season. And whereas on May 16, 2005, Buck signed a free agent contract with the BC Lions of the Canadian Football League, and whereas April 12, 2010, Buck signed with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the Canadian Football League as a starting quarterback. And whereas Buck Pierce continues to be an outstanding ambassador for Del Norte County and Crescent City through his strength of character and athletic achievement. Now, therefore, the City Council of Crescent City hereby acknowledges and applauds Mr. Buck Pierce for his outstanding leadership and the civic pride created by his hard work and determination. In the witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Crescent City to be affixed this 6th day of July 2010. Kelly Shalong, Mayor.
Thank you. Well, Buck was here with TSN. I had the honor and privilege to spend some pretty special time with them out in our community, showing them around up in the Redwoods and out by the beaches. And I'd known Buck since he was a young boy playing football, but never really got to know him well. And the time that I spent with him, I just came to respect, had a whole new respect for him. He is the most respectful young man and just generous and so thankful and appreciative of all the support he's received from our community. And he's just a great guy and comes from a really great family. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to move on to our consent calendar, which consists of the minutes of our last meeting, June 21st, and warrant claims for the period of June 22nd through July 6th. We also have our payroll report, June 19th through the 25th, and also the consideration and approval of our audit engagement letter for fiscal year 2009-2010, submitted by Dawn Reynolds, CPA.
Move to approve. I have some corrections.
I'll second it. Will you do that? We can do that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Donna.
Okay, on page 7 of the minutes, a correction is that the complaints made by residents of the Surf Apartments about smokers should have been directed to Sheriff Dean Wilson, not our police
Could you
chief.
state where you are on page 7?
Under reports, concerns, referrals, council training, and training reports.
And which line?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down. I had directed complaints. I thought they
Okay.
were directed to Police Chief Plack, but that's incorrect. They should have been directed to our sheriff to ticket those people that continue to smoke by the courthouse.
Okay.
Right.
Then, Madam Mayor, I had a question on the warrants. There was a line item for...
If you can hold off, I think she has.
Okay.
Did you have another item?
I have some questions on the accounts payable.
Okay. Have you had the opportunity, both of you, to speak to Ken McDonald?
No,
Have not.
Okay.
he's been out of town.
Okay. All right. Mr. Slurt.
So I noticed there was one of the warrants, an item for our city attorney at something just short of $16,000 a payment, and that looks to be nearly double what it typically is, and I was wondering if there was a clarification of what that represents.
Sure. I actually signed our warrants this afternoon, and the total check was between $15,000 and $16,000, I believe. And there were some small amounts, like $500 range, for our current lawsuits, Barbara Sanchez. And there were some insignificant amounts. When I say insignificant, I mean in the couple $100 range, on sewer issues. And there was about $2,000 or $3,000 in general legal issues, and I believe about $8,800 of that was the Donna Westfall Sewer Initiative. All the court proceedings and getting ready to go to court and all of that.
Thank you. I guess if I could, at this time, I'd like to request that perhaps the city manager, Mr. Butler, give us an update at our next council meeting regarding the cost associated with the legal fees regarding the initiative and/or recalls.
Sure. Okay, Donna?
Yes, check for $1,600 to Barry Garrity.
That is for training that we're providing to our wastewater treatment plant operators.
And a check to Coast Redwoods Art Association for $2,000 for painting Tsunami Landing.
Yes, that was the repainting of the Tsunami Landing signs that are on the structure. The Art Association agreed to do that in exchange for a contribution to their foundation.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, I have a motion and a second. Could you please,
Oh,
I know I didn't see any hands. Oh. Come on up.
Again, Miss Westfall.
Richard, please introduce yourself.
Okay, I have to be nice, Madam School Teacher. Again, Miss Westfall doesn't have
Richard, introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Richard Miles. I live at 608 G Street,
Thank you.
apartment number 2. Again, Miss Westfall, by wanting to change the minutes about who's responsible around the courthouse, doesn't have her facts straight. Since the state took over the building, the jurisdiction for any law enforcement falls under two jurisdictions. Sheriff Wilson only provides the bailiff service for inside the building. Outside the building, it either falls on our city police or the state police, because it's now a state building. So if people want to complain about the smoking issue, when people go outside and smoke, they should be calling our police department, or they should be calling the highway patrol. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none, we'll close it. Bring it back to the council. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Could I ask one more thing before we vote?
Sure.
On item number 8, I see that the proposed audit engagement is for $23,500, and I'm wondering if this was shopped around.
We actually went over this at the last council meeting, correct?
No, I don't think we discussed it at the last council meeting, but there were competitive bids done back in 2008 when Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Burns and Mayor Shalong were serving, and they still do serve as the audit committee. Mr. Reynolds was by far the lowest of the very few firms that applied at that time. So,
And it's actually less than what he charged previously over the last 2 years.
You had to do some catch-up the last.
Yeah.
Well, then why does it say it represents an increase of $890 from the prior year?
yeah, I think that's actually correct, that there was a small increase this year, and that is spread across all of the funds that
I'm
are
probably
audited.
thinking of the total with RDA and housing included is more than the general fund.
And if it was last shopped in 2008, don't you think that prices might have come down?
Actually, what happened was that Mr. Reynolds was the only one that wanted to come to Crescent City to provide this service. And he's done such an outstanding job over the past 2 years. This council has the ability to renew his services for 1 more year. And so it's up to this council to do so. If the council wishes, we can go out to bid, but it's going to slow down the audit process probably by at least 90 days.
Still part of the motion.
Yes. You know what? Why don't you just pull the vote? Thank you.
Councilmember Westfall?
Well,
I beg your pardon?
I said, well,
Oh,
I
there's a
would
cough.
vote yes for 5, 6, and 7, but I would vote no on 8. So I don't know how to bifurcate that.
Councilmember Byrne?
Yes.
Councilmember Murray?
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
You can't continue until you get a yes or a no from her. So I can actually pull number 8 from the consent calendar if this council chooses to, and vote on it separately.
That would mean we'd have to rescind the motion that we have on the floor. Is that correct, Madam Mayor?
No, I need a second motion, and the first one will go away. Well, it won't go away, but
Either that or we can,
Donna, if you wish to make that happen, you can make a motion.
I move that we separate item number 8 out from 5, 6, and 7.
She's made a motion to remove item 8 from the consent calendar, and do I hear a second? I'll second it. So, all those in favor of the motion on the floor?
Aye. And that motion being to separate out
Yes.
number 8.
Opposed?
I oppose.
Opposed.
oppose.
Okay. All right, motion dies. So the first motion is on the floor, and can I please have you pull that vote again?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Westfall?
No.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Councilmember Murray?
Yes.
Councilmember Slurt?
Yes.
Mayor Shalom?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to public hearings. We're going to conduct a public hearing to hear and consider all objections or protests to the report regarding delinquent sewer and water charges and fees associated with those. Mr. McDonald is not here
Yeah,
this
Mayor,
evening. Mr. Butler.
Thanks, Mayor. In Mr. McDonald's absence, I'll be handling this one. This is a kind of an annual right. Cities up and down California, the first meeting in July, they take to their councils the delinquent customer list. In our case, it's just delinquent sewer charge customers. And the significance of the timing is that we have to relay to the county the list of delinquent property owners by a certain date in July if those delinquent charges are going to get on the tax roll for the next collection period. So that's why it's so important that we do it this evening.
Okay.
You have a list that was included in your staff report. We always allow those delinquent customers who have been identified to pay up until the time of the public hearing. And as you saw in what I distributed before the meeting tonight, quite a few customers did come in between Thursday and tonight and pay their delinquent charges. So you have a list before you that shows crossed out those that have paid their fees.
And thank you very much to those people that have come in and paid. Between today and last Thursday, we received over $3,000 in delinquent fees, so thank you.
That's correct. So it's a pretty simple process, and we're just basically recommending that you conduct the public hearing, that you revise, change, reduce, or modify any of the charges or overrule any of the objections that may be brought before you during the public hearing. And it's also important that you adopt the attached resolution that authorizes staff to make the final determination on each charge and to file the final list with the county auditor for collection at the same time and in the same manner as property taxes are collected. So
And
that concludes my report.
these go on to the landowner's tax roll?
That's right, property tax bill.
All right, I just wanted to clarify that for the public. Okay, are there any questions from the council before I move on to the public hearing?
Yes, not a question, but a statement that I requested the last 3 years. My constituents have been calling and complaining that why does it seem like the prices in the list have doubled, and they think it's because of the sewer rate increase. And so we got this list that shows that from fiscal year 2007-2008, where $8,500 was on the delinquent sewer charges, it's nearly double for this year. So I think there is a correlation, Madam Mayor.
It's actually increased about $3,000 to $4,000 each year. It started out at $8,500 and then went up to $12,000 and then went up to $15,000, and all of those were prior to the sewer rate increase. And then this year it is actually the same as last year, at about $15,000.
I would offer that it might also be a reflection of the economy, which seems to have a correlation.
That's probably very true. And unemployment, our unemployment for Del Norte County is pretty high. I believe the last percentage that I saw was a little over 12%. Okay, any other questions?
I was wondering if anyone had an opportunity to make a payment plan at all to get this reduced?
Lisa Spear from our finance department is here this evening. Lisa, can you come to the podium and address that question? Or is this something where we do allow payments? Or did Ken give you any direction on that before he left?
Good evening, Lisa.
I know in the past we have allowed individuals to make payments if they so requested.
Yeah, I believe that we've always done that. For a reasonable period, we've allowed people to make a payment arrangement with the city.
Right.
So that's before it actually goes to this stage then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are people aware of that? Or do they have to ask?
They normally ask.
Okay.
And we haven't had any calls to date on the list that was provided to you.
I know that there was some comment about sometimes people just move out of their residence and they don't call and cancel their service, and then it ends up the landlord's responsibility. Is there any way we can improve that communication? Or I guess the landlord would call and cancel if they didn't want to keep it going, I guess, because they are the only ones that would really be aware of the move out.
I'm not sure that there would be a problem doing a letter. I'm trying to think of how we would identify, do we know which properties are landlord or rental properties? You know, maybe once a year we do a letter reminding landlords of their responsibility in this case. I'm just trying to figure out how big a deal is it going to be, or how staff time intensive is it going to be to...
I guess most landlords know. If they're landlords, they know that they have to cancel the service if they don't want to charge anymore. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, before we vote on this, I think Catherine Murray brought up an excellent point.
We're actually not going to vote on it until I open the public hearing.
Okay.
Did you have a question prior to that?
Not a question, but a suggestion that these people be contacted for payment plans.
Well, I think it's their responsibility. I just wanted to make it clear that the city, we're not ogres, and that we do offer a payment plan, so, to
Mayor,
assist them.
if I could, the county tax collector, once this goes to the county tax collector, also offers a payment plan. So there's the fact that this gets referred to the county system doesn't mean that the opportunity for a payment plan is over with. In fact, that's a fairly common arrangement at the county.
Well, that's all well and good, but this includes a 6% collection charge on top of the past due.
I mainly asked it for the public so that they would know.
I have a hard time, I mean, if you forget your Visa bill, phone bill, house bill, whatever power, and you don't pay, there's a penalty in charge. If you do an overdraft of your checkbook, there's an overdraft charge. It's your responsibility to pay water, sewer, and your bills. So when they don't, they get letters from we send out letters saying your account is overdue. Everybody gets those.
And everybody's been made aware that their account is coming to this board.
Yeah, so it's not like something that we don't send everybody on a water bill or sewer bill. They get that in the mail.
It's not a surprise.
No.
Okay, I'm going to open this up for a public hearing. You can either comment on the process, or if you actually are one of the past due people and you would like to speak to this council, you are welcome to do so. And so this public hearing is open. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Ms. Dickey?
I'm Victoria Dickey. I live in the county. I have a couple of rentals. One of the things that does happen, I mean, through trial and error, I have found out that the landlord is responsible for the sewer, and if it isn't paid, that it goes on the real property tax bill. However, that wasn't something that was easily found out. I think that it would be a good thing to somehow notify the owners. When property changes hands, they may not know. We don't really have any way to turn off services to tenants. If they have water, then you can turn it off, and that's fine. But this is where the problem comes in. If there's a well, and so only thing that is hooked up to the city is the sewer, then your tenant could hook up or not hook up, and you wouldn't know what was going on necessarily. They go down, they sign up, and they make their payments for a period of time. But maybe not for a very long period of time. Maybe they're there for quite a while. But you don't know that they're not making the payments. I mean, I have my own way of handling it, but I can understand why it would be a good thing that the landlords or all property owners be informed, especially the ones who don't have water. Because if you have water, they turn it off. Then it's over. That's no problem. If there isn't water, then you could show up with what is the water rate now, or what is the sewer rate? $50 a month? Okay, so $50 a month, that's $600 a year that you weren't planning on. And I don't think that everybody necessarily knows that until maybe they're $600 and 6%. And again, you know, in a landlord situation, you're not talking about whether or not you're paying your own bills. You're paying somebody else's bill who maybe has agreed they violated the contract with you too. So that's just another insult to injury. But I would like to see something worked out so that maybe the landowner is notified once a year. I think that would be good.
I think if the renter moves out and a notice of past due goes to that residence, wouldn't it go to you, the owner?
No, it doesn't. It goes wherever they have said their mail should go. It doesn't go to the landowner. And sometimes, by the way, you don't necessarily know they moved out. Not for a month or 2 months.
Yeah, I'm just saying, don't we usually, when we hook somebody up, if they're a renter, don't we usually have the landlord's?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, but landlord, the tenants can't sign up for it? I mean, I don't do that, but. Yes. I got you. I know mine are, but that's because of other things. Okay, well, still think it'd be nice.
Yeah. Mr. Miles?
I kind of have a technical question with all of this. The reason why I'm bringing this up, any day in the Daily Triplicate, you can look in the foreclosure notices and it shows people are foreclosing on their homes, so the banks take them over. And like Mrs. Dickey said, I'm aware that she, when somebody moves out, shuts the water off to the property she owns. But here's my question. We have a meter reader system. Every month, the meter man comes to my house and he pulls up a thing and uses his little punch key thingy to check my meter. And I'm assuming that record is downloaded at the water department. So the city has a tracking system when somebody isn't using water. If they have a tracking system by the system that the water meter uses, how come there is not a stopgap system so the city catches these delinquent accounts? And I think that's an issue that doesn't have to do with, because every year I've been attending these meetings, more and more people are being delinquent. And Dennis is right. If I don't pay my lights or phone or my rent or my other bills, I get calls from the bill collector. Bye.
Bye. Is there any other comment for the public hearing? Okay, seeing none, we'll close this public hearing and bring it back to the council. Need a motion to approve Resolution 2010-19?
I'll move that we adopt 2010-19 resolution of the intent of the City of Crescent City to determine the amount of delinquent sewer charges for the parcels listed and authorize collection thereof.
I'll second that.
And please note that there is an updated list that was provided to us today. Okay, could you please pull the vote?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Slurt?
Yes.
Councilmember Murray?
Yes.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Councilmember Westfall?
No.
Mayor Shalong?
Yes, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our second public hearing, which is to hear comments regarding the application from Joseph Wade, Crystal Troy, and Octavio Rodriguez for a taxi cab operation permit. Mr. Butler?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, you'll recall several months ago the council approved a third taxi cab operations permit. This is something that under the Crescent City Municipal Code you have the authority to do, and we have recently received a request for a fourth taxi cab operations permit. Mr. Black prepared a very thorough staff report regarding what the municipal code says in relation to the council's role in this matter, and he may want to add some comments to based on that report, just to kind of frame the discussion this evening. But we're basically here to consider this new request that has come in from three folks that want to start and operate a new taxi cab service in Crescent City. So we're recommending that you conduct this public hearing this evening. We are going to need to do this as a, break the exact term, a judicial proceeding, in the sense that we do need to swear people in. So I've got my wording for that as people come forward to speak. I'll turn it over to Mr. Black to see if he wants to add anything, just to provide some additional direction for your discussion.
Mayor and members of the council, I did put before you a staff report that abstracted a few of the provisions of the Crescent City Municipal Code. I think that for quite a long time, the issue of taxi cab regulation kind of slumbered along in that we had two taxi cab companies for quite a long time. They were operating without, I don't want to say without any difficulties, but at least without any difficulties that presented themselves to the city. It wasn't really a regulatory issue until we had the more recent request for a certificate of public convenience and necessity, and now we have a fourth request by a second company to have a new certificate, which would make four altogether. As I have reviewed the municipal code, there's a fairly extensive ordinance on taxi cab regulation, which includes a number of provisions that I don't think have received a lot of attention, including the fact that the police chief has to essentially license driver by driver everybody who drives a cab in and out of Crescent City. First and foremost for your consideration tonight is the fact that you have to make a determination whether Crescent City needs another cab company. In that sense, it's a little bit like the term certificate of public convenience and necessity is a term that's quite frequently bantered around at the Public Utilities Commission. It's not one that is too frequently used at the municipal level, but in reference to taxi cabs, I believe the ordinance that we have is a fairly common one throughout the state of California. Essentially, you need to take evidence, you need to find that we need another cab company, and that the applicant to be another cab company is fit, willing, and able to perform public transportation and conform to the provisions of the municipal code.
Okay. Have you been following that ordinance, Mr. Plack? So you have approved of every taxi cab business and each driver? So the answer would be no.
Well, I do know what the code does say, but I have never had to inspect these businesses before, nor I don't believe there's any type of background involved in that in the past. But I think if you're going to accept another one, we certainly need to start at ground zero so that the proper inspections can take place to comply with the municipal code. Right now,
Robin, are you getting this?
None of it's.
Could you please come to the podium? And start over.
Mayor.
I'm aware of what's in the ordinance. However, we have never had any type of inspections through the police department for any taxi companies to be inspected. I think at this point, we probably need to go back to ground zero and be able to think about whether or not we want to address this issue, address administrative fees, because this is going to take some time for us to catch up to this as far as what is expected from the police department to verify and allow a third, fourth, fifth, or sixth taxi company to come in the city.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but the police department needs to follow the city ordinances, and I don't know if there's an administrative fee that would be attached to that.
There isn't at this time. So I guess what I'm basically asking is for direction from the council as to how involved do you want the inspections to be? Because that includes not only the cars, the drivers, it also takes into consideration their uniforms, the hats they wear, and everything else.
Well, I don't really care about their uniform,
Well,
but
I got one on my desk today or the other day in regards to what type of hat to wear. I mean, I don't know to the extent of you would
for
like.
what?
For it has to be inspected by me as the police
Somebody's
chief.
hat?
Yes.
For
Well,
who?
the insignia.
Right.
Yeah.
For a taxi cab?
Yes. It's part of the uniform inspection.
For the drivers are supposed to have hats that are, I think the issue is that the insignia needs to correctly represent who they're driving for and the name of the company.
And so I get this photocopy from this magazine to say, do you like this hat? So
now you're a new fashion director.
Well, I guess I'm now the fashion police too, but
Doug and Sharon.
I just don't know what to the extent.
Doug and Sharon are going to be doing a fashion show later this evening.
Stop that.
I'd like all the taxi cab drivers to come in and present a fashion
Well,
show.
there's whether they wear high heels or I don't know. I don't know how far the city council wants me to.
That seems a little excessive.
Well,
I mean,
that's how they're interpreting them.
If they're required to wear a uniform, that should be presented in their plan to the council, not for the police chief to figure out.
Well, the ordinance was amended in 1987, and pretty much the way you see it today is the way that it was adopted by the council at that time, and it is the law of the city.
Right.
We can change it, and maybe it's time to take a new look at the ordinance and see whether some of these things are onerous.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty minor part of the ordinance, though.
Yeah.
I think the police chief is required more than anything else to look at the qualifications of the drivers, probably to check their traffic records and see whether they're, accident prone or have a lot of moving violations, et cetera. And I think the police chief is empowered to say, no, we don't want you being a cab driver 24/7 in our city.
Yeah. I personally think their cars should be inspected. I think they need, if they're going to be hauling around our families and our children, their cars need to be safe. They need to be drug tested and have a fairly clean driving record. I think those three things are important, but the insignia on their hat is a little much.
It can go to whatever extent that the council would like, and obviously we will follow the municipal code, but I'll be truthful with you. I've never been faced with this before in the past because it has not come up, so that's why I'm thinking we should probably research it from the bottom and see what expectations that you want from the police department to inspect, the vehicles and the driving and all that. I can understand that. But anything else would be above and beyond. But that's their interpretation of what the municipal code says. And all they want to do is comply, which we certainly do appreciate. But I think it has to be the same across the board for all of them. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll swear you in during the public hearing.
As what?
As the new director of fashion.
That's what I was afraid of.
Expert witness.
Yeah, there you go.
No, seriously, I will have you come up and speak because I'd like to hear your take on the need for a fourth company.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So, actually, this council can direct staff to look at this ordinance and see if it needs to be updated. It sounds like it might need to be. It's 20 years old and probably not up to date with what's happening in Crescent City today versus back in the 80s. So, would it be more appropriate to do that before we approve or disapprove, or after? We can do it after.
Well, I think that the applicants have a right to have their application heard under the terms of the present ordinance. So I would recommend that you go through this proceeding, and then if you want to have your staff come back to you with recommendations on any ordinance revisions, you do that at the end of this process.
Okay. All right. I guess I'll start with my questions of Mr. Butler before we, and then I'll open it up to the council before we open the public hearing. But we have Del Norte Taxi, we have Comfort Cab, we have the newest one, Crescent City Cab, and now the application for, what are they calling the name of their
ABC?
business? ABC Taxi Cab Company. And am I understanding correctly that Del Norte Taxi is closing and going out of business? Or am I understanding that, I get two different things here, one that they're closing and one that they're just not working in the evenings?
Yeah, I think we're going to need to have Mr. Piercy address that as part of tonight's testimony, because I'm hearing different things too and haven't been able to confirm
Okay.
which is really the case.
Because obviously that would make a difference.
It's true.
Okay. Any general questions from the council before we move forward?
No.
Okay. All right. We're going to open the public hearing. I think it would probably be helpful to hear from Mr. Piercy first. And what you'll do is come to the podium and just state your name, and then Rod Butler, our city clerk, will swear you in. Thank you very much.
My name is Richard Piercy. I've owned Del Norte Taxi for 21 years, and I live in the county.
Okay, sure. Mr. Piercy, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes. Okay, last time I was here, Crescent Cab wanted to open up. I was a 4-car operation with up to 10 drivers. Comfort Cab also was operating with 2 vehicles. Since then, Crescent Cab employed Ples Fowler, who, this is my opinion, called the state and an employee to try to take business from the other companies and told them lies. Said that we were operating illegally, working as employers when I've always had independent contractors. The state came to me and issued me a stop order, told me to shut my business down, go park the cars, tell all your drivers to go home until I secure workers' compensation for all the drivers. I appealed that, but they still said that I had to follow through with the stop order. They want me to get workers' comp for the independent contractors. They're not recognizing them. I believe this is just a ploy for the state to collect money. Anyway, I have complied with their stop order. The only people that can operate are the owners. So I went from 4 cars and 8-10 people down to trying to operate by myself. It's impossible for me to operate 24 hours a day now. I've elected to try to operate 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. This weekend made that impossible because, how could I shut down? How do you guys get home? But still, I could only work so late. Joe, Crystal, and Octavio were all drivers that drove Del Norte taxis. The only way I could see to get them back to work is if they start their own company. If they're owners, they don't have to comply with the workers' comp. As self-employees, we pay 33% of our income in self-employment tax. 27% is what they require for workers' compensation. That's 60% of our income. Delaware County is not a rich community. And our customers, a lot of them are little old ladies, little $3 customers going back and forth to the stores. It's almost impossible to try to collect that from them to pay the workers' compensation. The drivers, if we hire drivers, we have to pay them a minimum wage and pay the workers' compensation, pay the overtime. It's just impossible. I was advised that if I did get workers' comp, that was admitting to be an employer, and then I owe 21 years of back employee taxes, overtime, minimum wage for all the drivers that I've always had. The state has me over a barrel here. I underwent a lot of stress over all this, lost 25 pounds in 3 weeks stressing on this. It really saddened me to tell all my drivers that they no longer had a job, and trying to serve my customers out there has been very hard. So by allowing these guys to get their business license that will put them back into work, I'm only going to work, like I say, 9 to 9, Monday through Friday, if that's possible. I still have the 6030 number that's ringing all the time. I miss 30, 40 calls a night.
Turn that off, please.
There's also, over the weekend, I'm losing out on, 80, 90, 100 calls a day that these guys could be out there servicing these customers. So to give them a business license would be putting them back to work. It's not adding any more taxi drivers to the city. It's not really adding another business to the city. It's just allowing them to go back to work. But because of the way the state's designed and the way they're coming after the independent contractors, I don't know what other choices we have. I don't want to shut the business down.
Makes a lot more sense now.
And so, no, I never planned on shutting the business down.
Okay.
We've always been in operation, but you don't want me out there driving you or your family around after 3 or 4 days of no sleep. I have to go home and get some sleep, come back. So I've elected to work during the day. As far as I know, all the cab companies were issued this stop order. And I have chose to follow it, but at the same time, I'm losing my business. And these guys, I don't know, maybe losing their homes, they're not being able to pay their bills. And so we're just asking that you let them go back to work.
Thank you. Bob, do you have any legal background on, is the state law changing, or are independent contractors required to carry workman's comp? How does that work?
Well, the dividing line between who is an independent contractor and who is an employee is a very complex determination. The Internal Revenue Service has what they call the 20-factor test. And I suspect that workers' comp and other entities probably follow that test or something very similar, where they actually identify 20 different criteria to determine whether or not a person is an employee. So I'm not coming down on one side or the other. What I'm saying is that probably what happened to Richard is that they came down on the other side. They said, we looked at all these things and these people are actually employees. You say they're independent contractors. We say they're employees. Therefore, you have to come and get insurance. And I think that's probably what happened to him. I think he's also correct, though, that if they go out on their own and they're self-employed, i.e. they're working in their own business, then they truly are, at that point, independent contractors. Or just, self-employed individuals.
So are we aware of the other cab companies receiving the stop order? I mean, would the city be notified if one of our businesses is shut down by the state?
Not necessarily, no.
Can we get that information?
We probably could, but I don't have any reason to doubt what we're being told. I think it's probably quite accurate. Yeah, looks like he's got it
No, I'm
here.
just saying that.
At a Reading
No, I'm just saying that if they've been told to stop and they're not stopping.
Well, I think the question is, say Comfort Cab, the question is he just driving for himself now? Or is he also got independents out on the street driving for him?
You know, I really hate to go there, but
I don't blame you. You don't need to do that.
I didn't ask for an answer, I just said the question is. And we don't have that
we were both issued at the same time the same information from the state. His is still pending, but that's the original stop order that says stop now. My option was within a certain amount of days to appeal that. I went to appeal it, and at the appeal meeting, Pam Hubbard, who was from the same office as John McBride, she was the judge, and she said, no, I find you as an employer, the stop order stays in effect, and still I have to pay the $1,000 fine. They were nice to me. They said it's $1,000 per driver that I had on the road without workers' comp, but he said, I'll only write you up for one. And
Did they give you a reason that,
The
facts
biggest-
qualifying you as an employer?
Well, see, the thing is the IRS uses what they call, I believe it's the S-88, which is about maybe 6 or 7 pages of different determining factors. But John McBride says, yeah, I know all about that. He says, but we don't use that. He says, our list is much bigger than that. I said, could you please tell me what I'm doing wrong? How can I comply to be independent? He says, no, that's your problem. Before the appeal meeting, Rick Lane was there too. He was a witness to this. On the bottom of the form that the letter that told me when my appeal was, it said that this matter may be disposed of without hearing by full remittance of penalties due. So I asked John McBride before the hearing, I says, does this mean if I pay you the $1,000, you just go away? And he says, yes. I said, that sounds like extortion. And his very own words were, everything I do is extortion. I was floored. What do I do? And then I went to the meeting, into the hearing, and I asked Pam Hubbard, who was the judge there. And I says, is that what this means? And she says, yes, if you would have paid the $1,000, you wouldn't have to be here. And I said, I still won't have to get the workers' comp. And she says, oh, no, you still have to get that. But she found in the favor of the state, and therefore the stop order stays in effect. His hearing was delayed due to he was seeking counsel. But like I say, you know, I hate to comment on what they're doing.
Sure.
I'm not here to rat anybody out or anything, but just try to salvage what business I have left. I've been here a long time, and I don't believe, I'm sure the city hasn't heard too many complaints about Del Norte Taxi. We've never had any major accidents, a few little fender benders. You know, I try to pick good people to be out there to drive. I just lease them the cars. I don't tell them what to do. So you know, I thought I was acting as an independent. 12 years ago, this issue come up, and the Taxi Cab Association of California fought the state, and they won, and we never heard from them again. So I've been under the assumption since then that everything was okay. But when Ples Fowler made the call to the state and said that he was fired from Comfort Cab and that he was under my employ and neither one of us had workers' comp, that's when John McBride came to town and issued the stop orders.
Well, as an employee of Comfort Cab, of Crescent City Cab, wouldn't they fall under the same rule?
Well, Crescent Cab was so new. Ples Fowler was working for them at the time and as an independent contractor. But when Chris was approached, he just says, no, it's just me. So he wasn't issued any citation. But we're still all required to have workers' comp. He, I understand, was able to secure a workers' comp. I tried to get the workers' comp. They told me it'd be $15,000 for the year, which I made $17,000 last year. So I'd be working for nothing. And then I was advised by Bob Cochran, who wrote my lease agreement. I says, what do I do, Bob? And he told me that I was screwed, his very words. He says, pay the fine and hope they go away. He says, if you want to continue leasing cabs, my next thing I could do was to appeal it to a Supreme Court. And I asked him how much that would cost, and he said, well, at least $10,000 in lawyer fees to appeal to a Supreme Court. At that time, I felt like packing my bags and just running away. What do I do? You know, it's kind of sick.
It is.
But the real issue here is the fact that we now have 8 more unemployed people in Del Norte County. And there's a lot of people out there calling taxis that aren't getting rides that could be employing these people. So to give them the business license, allow them to get back to work, I gave them 2 of my cars. They found that they could get insurance. I believe they've got everything squared away. They're just waiting for approval from the city so they can go back to work.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, are there any other persons that would like to speak for public comment? And you are Joseph? Okay, this is Joseph Wade.
Joseph Wade, I live here in the city. I've been working for...
Sir, you need to be sworn in.
Mr. Wade, can you raise your right hand? And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Excellent.
Sorry. I've been working for Mr. Piercy here for 7 years, and I'm sure he's happy with my work. I'm happy working for him and the cars he operates. He keeps them safe, and he does clean them up and fix them when they need them. All you have to do is say something, and he takes care of the problem. I've been employed since the 10th because of the fact that he was given a stop order. Me and 2 of my coworkers decided to put a company together because we feel there is still a need for cab companies here in town. We have people that are calling our personal cell phones and calling us for rides to go places and from the bars and from the store because they're not able to get a hold of the cab companies. Mr. Piercy has been working on the weekends. We've got Comfort Cab going to Medford and out of town on runs, and Crescent Cab's just not reachable. And these are people that we've given our personal phone numbers because they are our clientele that we work with and we help out, especially our seniors. And it's disgruntling how the fact that our citizens they're paying for us not being out working. We're good drivers, we have good clean records, we're drug free, we obey the laws, and we help out our fellow man. Our seniors are the biggest issue because they need rides here and there, especially on Sundays. You know, Sundays there's no bus system, there's nothing there for them to use. And from what I've been told by some of our customers, there's been no cabs available at all for the past 3 Sundays in a row. And I feel that you giving us our license to operate will fulfill that need and give our customers the rides they need to get to where they need to go, whether it's to work, doctor's appointments, or just to go see their grandkids or their kids. You know, I'm a very simple man. I have a family, and like everyone else says, I need to get a job so I can support my family. And this is the best way I know how. I enjoy driving a car every day. I enjoy a lot of the people that we give rides to. They're great people. I appreciate your time, and I hope you give us our permits so we can operate.
Thank you.
Can I ask Mr. Wade a question? Sir?
Sure.
One of the things the council is required, or one of the things that's required in a certificate of public convenience and necessity is to specify the number of cars or the number of cabs that you'll be.
We are going to start with 1 vehicle, and then we're hoping within the first 30 days we will switch to 2.
So you would basically today you would be requesting 2 certificates.
I believe that's what
vehicles.
the business license has on it is for 2.
Okay.
The application says 1 on the bottom,
Yeah.
under E.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
I believe her name is Lisa at the water department said that when she filed it, or the clerk, who was that? Robin Patch, I believe it was. The city clerk said she was going to put down.
That'd be her.
Oh.
I don't recall that conversation.
Okay.
I wouldn't have said anything about, I mean, I talked to you quite a bit, but not in regards to how many people. That's not something the city clerk's office handles.
Okay.
Can that be amended now?
Can that be amended at this time?
Yeah, yeah. If the request is in fact for 2, then I think we just need to know that on the record, and then that's up to you to consider. You could award 2, or you could just award 1.
In some of your paperwork, it talks about 2 full-time equivalents. That deals with people to drive, so you could have 2 people driving 1 car. You know, that. But if you want to do 2 cars, I'd just amend your application to 2 under E. So I just.
Yeah, because I believe that all cab companies need to realize that whatever their permit says is all they're allowed to have on the road. And if they have more than that, they're violating their permit and they can lose their license to operate. So it'd be best for you to have 2 on here to start if that's what you're going to do within 30 to 60 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We'd like to amend it to have 2 vehicles.
Okay. Thank you. Either one of you want to speak?
My name's Crystal Troy. I'm one of the general partners, and I live in the city.
Troy, do you, I guess raise your right hand first. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes. There's not too much left to say after Richard and Joe, but like Richard said, this is my life. This is what I do. I don't want to do anything else. It's bad that he's got to go through this. The Comfort Cab has to go through it. Chris really doesn't have to. But I've been around the last couple weeks and watching what Richard's going through, and there's a lot of people not getting anywhere. 2 weekends ago, Chris from Crescent Cab had shut down, and Comfort Cab went to Medford for 5.5 hours, and Richard was closed. And I had people calling my phone. I had like 10 people call me. I can't get a cab. I don't know what to do for him, except for to try to get my job back. I only worked for Richard for about 4.5 months, but I liked the job. And if he was still allowed to employ us, I'd still be there. So we have a copy of all the regulations. We've tried to follow everything. We're actually the ones that had it on Mr. Plack's desk for the hats to be approved. So we're trying to follow everything. It's a little bit of red tape, but I don't want to do anything else but that.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Kelly Brown. I live in the city.
Ms. Brown, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes. Okay, I just wanted to let everybody know that I have been trying to get a cab. I'm going through a divorce, and I have 2 little girls. Okay, for the last 3 weekends in a row, I have not been able to get a cab at all. So that limits me to do anything with my children. You know, we walk everywhere. As a matter of fact, my feet have blisters on them from walking. So I just really feel that we...
That's from waitressing all those years.
It's from that too. But I'm really getting tired of walking, and I feel bad for my girls. You know, they're 8 and 5. And yesterday, I walked down to go pay my power bill, and I got there and they were closed. And so I called the cab companies. Crescent Cab was in Medford. Comfort Cab was a 2-hour delay, and then Richard was closed. So I lost it. I started crying. And I didn't want to walk all the way down to the new Mexican store over by ShopSmart because I live over on 9th Street. So, and that's a little bit too far for my little girls to walk. But I really feel we do need more cabs in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miles.
Mr. Miles, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes. Kelly, in some ways this is a no-brainer. It's about putting these people back to work. But it's also about our economy. I want to give you an example. On the 1st, the 3rd, and today, because it was a bank holiday, a lot of our seniors love going out to the casino. Well, if we don't have the cabs to take them there, the Indians ain't making any money. And that hurts our economy, because if there's not people out there pulling those slots or playing bingo, they have a hard time making their payroll. I would hope tonight that you'd give these people a license so they can pay their rent, buy their groceries, pay their water and power bill. But at the same time, after you give them the license, I desperately do believe that we need to look at our ordinance dealing with cabs. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am?
My name is Tanya Piercy. I live in the county.
Ms. Piercy, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, it is. I'm just coming forward to speak because I work in the emergency room, the night shift, and we call for cabs like every single shift I work, at least once. And if there wasn't service at night to get these patients home after being treated in the emergency room, that would be a terrible shame.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment? Ma'am?
I've been taking this cab.
Ma'am, you have to state your name and then be sworn in.
Marie Willems.
Ms. Williams, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, it definitely is.
Thank you.
I've lived in this city for 8 years. I've driven this particular cab company, has been my favorite for many years. I'm very, very disabled with osteoporosis and arthritis. I'm almost totally dependent on cabs to have my meals, because my next door neighbor has fizzled out on me. He used to make my meals for him, and his life is falling apart. So I have to go down at least 3 times a week to to get meals with meat or chicken. Otherwise, I'm so weak I can't do the bare essentials. And I'm on a because of my health problems, I've had to stay up during the night many times, and I wind up running all my errands real late in the day. I wind up doing my grocery shopping and call a taxi at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know if this whole business falls through, if I'm going to have any food to eat. I've got great big holes in my upper leg. It's almost totally destroyed, and it's really hard for me to walk any place, and I have a callus that builds up on my foot. My medical problems make it extremely difficult for me to walk. I managed to recently walk a certain amount in the city. But this company has been just wonderful. I don't think I'd be satisfied with any other company. I really don't. I hope that you can. I've known Joe for many years. He's a very good person. Richard has hired all good people. They've all been very nice. They've been fast and efficient. I can't say enough good things about this company, and I really hope and pray that you can get these people to working, because like everybody else says, we're desperate. I haven't driven since I was very, very young, in my 30s, and I'm getting old. My osteoporosis and my eyesight, I can't go to buy a car and drive. My health is so bad, I'm shaking now because of various disabilities. Like I said, I'm begging you and pleading with you to get this company going. This has been my favorite company. And like I said, I can't say more good things about Richard and his company that I've used for many years. Now, I don't know if I've covered everything or not. If I could look and see if, oh yeah. I've gotten, by walking, I've gotten Charlie horses in my legs so bad I could hardly get through the night. And, after running short errands to go to my bank, which is only 5.5 blocks from me. I'm not sure if I said everything or not, but I think, well, I think I've said everything, so I won't pester anybody with any more. I do hope that you get this company going, and I'm very disturbed by the rules that have almost made it impossible for this to happen. Like Richard explained, with this workers' compensation, I'm on disability. A lot of my trips are only $3. How can he pay this workers' compensation? But I'll stop pestering everybody and just hope and pray that you'll get these people going. I especially need the evenings, nighttime service, and the weekends. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Ma'am, are you aware of the Meals on Wheels service?
Yes, I've been on the phone constantly talking to this lady, and she says, absolutely not. I'm not qualified to be that. You have to be a person who's so disabled that you can't think enough you can't even read. In one case, my landlady told me that. The lady at the Meals on Wheels said that most of their patients are in their 80s. I'm 70. Most of their patients are in bed when the meals are taken directly to their beds. I've talked to her constantly, time and time again. She said, I'm not qualified. But my health is so poor, I really need this company.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
I have one more thing.
Can I call him up twice?
Yes.
Sure.
I'd just like to say that Marie represents...
Can you please, you have to come to the microphone.
I'd just like to say that Marie represents like 50% of our customers. We provide a service. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Where is Octavio Rodriguez?
I have a couple questions, too.
Can you come to the...
Octavio Rodriguez had to go out of town for medical reasons.
Okay.
He's down seeing his heart surgeon.
Is he going to drive?
Yes, sir.
So you're going to have 3 drivers?
Yes.
So on your City of Crescent City business license application, you only list 2.
He's not.
The number of positions, 2. So, pardon?
I thought we added him to that one.
I think it's 2 full-time equivalents.
Well,
Yeah.
full-time equivalent is an 8-hour position a day.
He's basically going to be giving us our days off so we can have time off once a week. But I could have swore we put him on the application on there.
He's on the application.
He's on the application.
Oh, okay.
But you have 2 people as full-time equivalents, which means it doesn't make any difference how many. It's still, is he going to work 8 hours a day? Is everybody going to work 8 hours a day?
We're going to be working 8 to 12-hour shifts, yes.
So that's 3 people. To me, that's not a, I just think you need to amend your application to say 3 full-time equivalents.
If I could do so at
Are all 3, Wade and Crystal and Octavio,
Rodriguez.
those are the three people that are going to be working as owner-operators, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's three people, three full-time people. You're all full-time employees.
Yes.
So that's three people.
Was there a reason you put 2?
I could have, that's probably my mistake. I thought we put
I'm
him
glad
on
we
there
caught
also.
Also, in your financial statement, you only include you and Crystal and not Octavio?
He wasn't present at the time. He was in San Francisco at that time also, and we forgot to add him to it. If we need to, we can get, well, as long as we can have it faxed to us, because he's in San Francisco and then going to Mexico after that. He's going to be gone until the 2nd of August.
He did sign it, though.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Slurt?
Madam Mayor, this to me is about local jobs serving the public. And I think this council is interested in having our city and citizens being a business-friendly city. And obviously there's personal relationships involved here, so I'm very much in favor of this new company.
Catherine?
Now that I understand the situation, it makes sense to approve.
Do you have any questions, Donna?
No, I'm ready to approve.
Dennis?
I have asked mine, thank you.
Yeah, I felt the same way. At first, I thought a 4th cab company was going to be way too much until I understood the facts. But it's really a cab company that's becoming 2. So, okay.
I move that we approve the application of Joseph Wade, Crystal Troy, and Octavio Rodriguez for the certificate of public conveyance and deem that it's necessary to open a new taxi service with the caveat that the Crescent City application permit be on E be 2 vehicles and that the certificate of business license application be 3 full-time positions.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second.
Which one? Slurt or?
I'll pick one.
Westfall's fine. Okay, do we need to pull the vote, Mr. Black?
I would recommend it, yeah.
Okay, could you please pull the vote?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Slurt?
Yes.
Councilmember Murray?
Yes.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Councilmember Westfall?
Yes.
And Mayor Shalom?
Yes. Congratulations. I hold our cab companies to a higher standard. And because I don't get more mad than when I see a cab company speeding through town with a child inside of it. So just do a good job and make us proud.
You'll be looking for that, huh, Chief Black?
Sure. Sure, now you want to be the fashion police. Could you raise your right?
Police.
Could you raise your right hand, please?
Yeah. Thanks. The way that I see it, it was very convoluted before, and it is very clear. And the main thing that concerns you and me and everyone else is that we got people that are out of work that need to be put back into work. I don't see this adding another business to it because they're all working together for this profession. Right now, the police department, unless you want any other type of inspections done on the vehicles or anything else like that, right now, all of the taxi companies have been very receptive to the fingerprints, the criminal histories, the backgrounds, the driving records, everything that they need to do. And they do go through an awful lot of hoops to get their job. They really honestly do. But one of the things that I think it's really insightful for the council is that no one's mentioned the shuttles from the airport to Medford and back, and where by doing that allows the city not to have the proper type of taxi service available for the citizens, because the last thing we want to do is have them waiting on the side of the street. any longer than what they have to. And I'm not just talking about crime, but I'm just talking about the weather that we have here. And I'm sure they have a devoted following as far as their customers are concerned. So I guess basically what I'm asking for is a little bit of direction on how far you want the police department to be involved in as far as the inspections.
I think personally I would like to direct staff, Mr. Black, Mr. Butler, and yourself to take a look at the ordinance and see if it needs to be updated and bring that back to this council.
Okay, but meanwhile you just want to just go ahead and approve just like you did tonight as if they were always in existence. You know, as far as the inspections.
The ordinance says that you actually have the right to disapprove their license.
Right.
If you feel they are not obeying the ordinance and following the rules.
Right.
But the current ordinance needs to be...
Well, I'm talking about, you know, because no inspections were done on those two right now, so we can implement it later on.
Well, I think this can come back to us in 30 days, and this council can reinstitute what we feel is the fair and just process, and then you can start following that. And if you want to start with every cab company and do that, then that's what you'll need to do.
Yeah, I will, and bring them all onto the same level,
yes,
so that's
they
fine.
all need to be,
We can do that.
And I'd like to remind people too, there is our bus system in the city. I mean, if for some reason there is not a cab available, it's not always available, the transit system, but we do have that service as well.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, just one verification. So thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. Actually, not at this moment, but you could during public comment, which is going to happen in just a few minutes. You're welcome. Mr. Butler, do we have any outside reports?
None this evening.
Okay. Before I move on to public comment, I'm going to take item number 12 because we have someone that's been waiting here for about an hour. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have one for me? You have two?
Oh, sorry.
Mayor and council members, thank you for making time for this.
If you want to wait just a second, I'm going to introduce the item. Tonight we're going to consider approval of a letter of support which has been requested by the Interagency Visitor Center Design Committee. And this is basically a joint visitor center between the county, the city, the harbor. There's actually like, I don't know, 10 or 14 agencies that are working together to move this project forward. And basically this is just a letter of support from our city. And Grant Worskell is chair of the design committee, I believe, and also consulting with the entire group to speed the process forward. And so we've asked him to be here tonight to give us a little update.
Thanks for that introduction. One clarification, I'm actually just facilitating the different meetings. There's a whole plenary group of all those agencies. I facilitated that meeting in February. There's a funding committee. I convened them and facilitated that meeting. There is a design committee, just as Kelly said. But where we are is we're at the front end of the process. People are very inspired, obviously, about the idea of consolidating visitor services and information for visitors at a gateway location, that location, of course, being the harbor. It's hard not to like it. It's so exciting. And we knew that the city wanted to be part of this. And I think of those signature slots, the only entity that has not yet had this go through their process has been the Smith River Rancheria, and I'm following up with them. And also, Ernie Perry is here if you have any questions, that I might not be able to answer. And obviously, Ernie's very involved in this, and he's assisting the Harbor District. So I think it should be pretty straightforward. And in the interest of time, I'll just defer and see if you have any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council?
I had a couple. Is there a proposed timing for the project?
No, we are really just at the front end in terms of needing to do work about design. We're actually seeking some funding just to continue kind of the meetings to move those issues ahead. And I expect there's probably going to be a proposal to the RAC committee that the chamber will be supporting. So we're not that far along. Yeah.
No budgets have been established.
Pardon me?
No budgets have been established for the project?
Correct.
So are you going to make a proposal to the RAC committee in the near future?
Yes, I think their deadline is August 1, and I think that there will be a proposal there from the chamber, just really providing modest funding to kind of continue the coordination of the funding committee, the design committee. I understand from the National Park Service there is a landscape architect and engineer that they will be able to have services from pro bono to support the design committee. But again, really think of it as kind of preliminary work so that we can have a better definition of what's the footprint, working with the Harbor District, what are the locations being considered, so that we can all, answer some of these questions and move it along. A few people have brought this to the attention of Congressman Thompson, just in terms of this is something that the community is interested in. And but as you can see, first step, letter of mutual interest, have everybody involved, make sure they have a chance to weigh in on it and participate to the degree they want to.
Great. Any other questions?
No, but Madam Mayor, I'm an alternate on the RAC committee, so I probably should recuse myself. I think
It's not a,
There's no financial interest here.
there is with the RAC committee.
I don't think it's a conflict
No?
to express interest on behalf of the city. It's not committing you one way or the other as to how you vote on the RAC or anything
Okay.
like that. So I think,
Don't want to have any conflicts? No. Okay.
Anything over here?
I just think if all these agencies are getting involved, and it's a nice kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of people.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And at a gateway location, it's just, has such amazing potential. And with all the good work that's being planned at the harbor now in terms of, trails and so forth.
Great. Thanks for being here, Grant. Mr. Miles, public comment.
Yeah, I kind of have.
Wait to get to the podium.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kind of have a problem with this. And I got to be honest.
We wouldn't want you to be anything but.
I got a suggestion because I really want to know. Somewhere down the line, I can see this happening. Somebody will come back and ask the city for Oconee. Well, guess what? The city may not have that Oconee. Well, I got a suggestion from the gentleman from the Smith River Alliance. Why isn't he asking the Rose Foundation to pony up the money?
This isn't about money tonight.
Well, you wait, Kelly. Down the line, it will be about money.
Thank you, Richard. Mr. Perry?
On behalf of the Harbor
Don't you
District-
miss these meetings?
Excuse me?
Don't you miss these meetings?
No. On behalf of the Harbor District, the Harbor District is committed to this project. I've been instructed and have allocated a parcel of ground for consideration for this project. The initial cost of a building is the initial cost of a building. It's the long-term maintenance that comes back to be of concern to everyone. Redwood National Park, in part of the discussions, has agreed to shift their maintenance crew to this facility because they'll be able to move from the building that's downtown, still use that for offices, and use the reception center at this area. So
I use that as an example because it's pretty good meetings that we've had so far and pretty good cooperation. I also want to point out that there are agencies that own land in Del Norte County and around the city of Crescent City that have no offices here. So this is a way for them to get represented here locally and steer people to facilities that we know about, but the tourists don't know about. An example would be Castle Rock, which has a video camera on it that gives a 24-hour observation, and the idea is to have a LCD panel there that's feeding that into the visitor center. And we're also going to provide adequate area for tour buses so that we can get the tour buses to stay one more day. If they stay one more day, they may stay here in a motel. They may all eat in a restaurant, and they may spend some money in shops. So a lot of thought is going into this. It is, as Grant said, the very beginning of the process, but this would not be the first interpretive center built in the United States, and there are a lot of ideas out there, and there are people that are on this group that represent agencies that have participated in the construction of visitors and interpretive centers at other locations. So it is moving along fairly well. The seed money is an issue, but the RAC is an opportunity to get some of that initial seed money. And with all the federal agencies involved, some of them have little pots of money, not enough to build an interpretive center, but maybe enough to pay for a portion of one. So maintenance is being looked at.
Thank you.
Ernie, if all these folks want a piece for their, to showcase in an interpretive center, for example, if several different groups, the parks and some of the tribes or the Lake Earl Wildlife, or the Castle Rock Sanctuary out there, if they all want a little piece, then you're turning this into something that could be, I don't want to say a museum, but the Harbor's also talked about having a museum / something down there. Is this, all this kind of just open right now? Are you just throwing all these ideas around?
Yes, we're throwing all the ideas around. There has been some very sincere discussions about staggering shifts and staggering interests so that it's manned every day. LCD panels can do a lot.
You could have revolving shows, et cetera, et cetera.
They can do a lot. The size of the facility, just for comparison, is probably in the area of the size of the facility down at Redwood Creek, the National Park has. In that area. It'll occupy a little more land because, again, we want to have facilities for tour buses to stop and visit the area.
You already have a footprint for it, you said?
We don't have a footprint. We have several conceptual ideas. Again, there are, this is not the first interpretive center.
I understand.
So, any other questions?
Thank you.
I would just offer a couple thoughts. It's a thing of the chicken and the egg in trying to develop projects like this, but I think it's very important that it's a centralized mixed-use.
Mr. Miles, thank you.
The idea that it's a centralized mixed-use project at the harbor, which is the centerpiece of our community, I think is important. The idea of creating some critical mass. So there's a place to bring people to and for people to stay for an extended period of time. So I think it's an important centerpiece for our community.
Is there any other public comment? Billy Kay?
Billy Kay Gavin Tiger. I live in the county. First of all, I think it's great that everybody finally gets it, that tourism is important in this town, like it or not. They pay a lot of our paychecks. What I'd like, and I know this is probably not the right forum, but I'd like the council to really consider why moving something potentially so great out of downtown. Because don't you want all those people to come downtown so that businesses can continue to grow and prosper downtown? So I know there's a couple empty property lots, and again, I don't know the scope of the size of the building that they're discussing, but There's brownfields funds that could be potentially used for that lot to extend where the Redwood National Park is. There is a big empty building on Front Street that would be a great gateway also. I mean, it's not as primary focused as the highway at L and 3rd, but a lot of visitors come down Front Street, and that could be some prime location too, right there to our park and to downtown, of course, most importantly, and also Lighthouse, etc. So I'd like you guys to consider that as well in your thoughts and planning. Thank you.
Well, right now, this council is not the decision-making body, but I would invite you to go to their next meeting and give them your input. When will you be meeting again, Grant? Do you know?
We don't have a date set, but I would expect in the next couple of months.
Okay.
How do you get notified? Just provide them with your email or
Great. Any other public comment? Patty, did you have public comment? Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, we're going to close public comment. You already had yours, Mr. Miles. Mr.
Public comment, regular public comment is coming up next. I want to go home.
Can I bring this back to the council to endorse this letter of support?
I would move that we approve a letter of endorsement, the MOU.
Can I get a second? I will tell you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who seconded it? I'm sorry.
Mr. Burns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Let's see. Billy, are you the only person from BID here this evening? Do you mind waiting just a few more minutes? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open up public comment. Any member of the audience is invited to address the City Council on any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the City of Crescent City. Comments of public interest or on matters appearing on the agenda are accepted. Note, however, the Council is not able to undertake extended discussion or act on any non-agendized item. Such items can be referred to staff. After receiving recognition from the mayor, when you come to the podium, please state your name and whether you live in the city or the county, and limit your comment to 3 minutes. This is Miss Wilms.
City or the county, I live in...
So just state your name again.
Yeah, Marie Willems. Am I talking right, or does...
Yes, sure. And do you live in the city or the county?
In the city.
Okay. Now you have 3 minutes to tell us everything you wanted to say.
Well, I gave up using all buses quite a few years ago because of my health problems. I never know when I'm going to be sleeping during the day. I don't know if I can go into this. I've been so weak that I've had to be up, get up every 3 to 6 hours, and that means I have to be up during the nights many times. And then it's impossible to try to catch one of those RTCF buses where they pick you up at your door. I forget what you call them, dial-a-ride. So that's totally out of the question. My health is so poor, I don't think I'd dare walk to the nearest bus stop. I might be able to do it on a few rare occasions. I haven't attempted to do it for 5 years because of my poor health. I just looked at my bone scan test done 6.5 years ago. I have great big holes in my upper leg bone, and which is part of the ball and socket, and my lower spine, and I just totally out of the question. I can't ride any buses. I can't make. You have to make an appointment the day before. I never know when I'm going to be sleeping. I have other medical problems. I might have to go to the bathroom when it's time to be picked up. So dial-a-ride's totally out of the question. I can't walk to the other place, and so the buses are just totally out of the question for me to use.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miles?
My name's Richard Miles. I live at 608 G Street. The first thing, Kelly, I would like to ask is that you ask your city attorney to research a legal question that I have. That legal question is, the city appoints people to the Tourist Bureau and the Visitors Bureau. And in the past, people who have become part of this chamber have been sat on the board of directors. What happens in this community, are you listening?
Just a moment, Richard. Will you make sure she gets down the steps safely? Thank you. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. That I believe that there may be open legal questions because of the participation of my board of supervisors and my city council members who are appointed to serve on these two committees, coming back and voting to give these two groups funds. And I believe that this is a good legal question, and you should direct your attorney and Mr. Henyon to do a little legal research. Also, I found it disturbing when this lady said she can't get Meals on Wheels. One of you sit on the Senior Citizens Board, and I would hope that a question would be asked on her behalf. Because recently I've been going out there and having healthy meals for only $3. Then I got to make a suggestion. I was invited to Debbie Stover's to watch the parade. Do your feet hurt, Miss Murray? But what disappointed me was to go downtown the next day. I would hope that you would ask the Chamber of Commerce next year to put cardboard boxes out so people have an opportunity to throw their trash. If it wasn't for the windy day, all that trash would still be downtown. It's all out in the ocean now. And I think it's a shame that this community can't be a green community. And there's another beef I got. A whole bunch of us spend a lot of hours
Wrap up, Richard.
trying to beautify my city. We planted flowers. But until the city straightens its landscape ordinance and make the businesses owners downtown go out and throw a bucket of water on some plants, all the money that BID spent went to waste.
Thank you, Richard. And thank you for helping BID. Is there any other public comment? This will be public comment time on any item that you wish. Ma'am?
Jessica King, and I live in the city. On the bid on your proposed 2010-2011.
Yeah, we're actually going to address
You're gonna
that
address
next.
that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Sure.
Could you read what it is that you're going to be doing, the ordinance and all that?
Well,
Could you go over the ordinance for the bid for the booth renters?
Sure.
All of that? Okay.
Sure. Is there any other general public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close general public comment. We're going to move on to number 13, which is conduct a public meeting to receive public testimony regarding the 2010-2011 Business Improvement District assessments and give direction to staff. Mr. Black?
Yeah. What's the bid? Yes, basically, Deputy City Attorney Martha Rice requested that this be put on the agenda for purposes of conducting a public meeting to receive public testimony regarding the 2010-11 bid assessments. And after you receive that public testimony, I would suggest that you give direction to staff.
Okay, but could you please summarize the changes that are being testified about?
I actually can't, but I'm hoping that Billy Kay can, since she's the head of the bid.
Okay. Billy, do you want to go ahead and come forward?
Let me just state that bid is under the umbrella of the city. We don't come up with this stuff on our own. Thank you. There's no proposed boundary changes, no benefit zone boundary changes. Last year, there was a lodging category that was created unbeknownst to us. It was already incorporated in the business licenses, so we're asking to eliminate that just to keep it easier for the staff at City Hall to lump that into their billing altogether.
What do you mean unbeknownst to you?
Well, we had created a lodging category because in case any other motels or hotels were built or established within the bid, that we could do that. And some of the businesses, if you, under the lodging also, that would include apartments. And so we were just trying to cover all the bases last year when we did all of this, Martha and I. Does that make sense?
Does that include bed and breakfast too?
Yes.
So you're eliminating that now?
Because there's already a category that it falls under.
Okay.
So that's why it's being eliminated. It was already there. We didn't understand that it was there the way it was written.
I got you.
And then we are requesting to reinstate the service assessment back to its original $150 assessment fee and to create a separate booth renter category. Last year, when this all came into play, all of the salon operators, nail operators, anybody under those kind of services would have been hit hard, and a lot of them were part-time, so we just enfolded them all into service. And Martha had suggested that when we come back this year to do this, that we split those. And rather than bringing that back higher for the booth renters, we bid specifically as requesting to create a new category for them so that $50 remains for them, and then other services which bring in higher income could pay the $150.
So when you say you want to bring the $150 back, which category are you referring to?
Service.
Service. And then to separate out salon-related booth renters.
Booth renters who are in a salon that's owned by somebody that it's already paying a retail and/or service category, so that they're only paying $50 rather than 7 people in one establishment each paying that $167 or $150. Does that make sense?
So you're getting $150 from the owner and then $50, only $50 from a booth renter?
Correct.
Okay.
And that was based on us having a public hearing with them coming to talk to us.
Okay.
Did I cover it all, Bob? Sorry.
You'll have to tell me, but I think you did.
So there was only, there's
So
only...
the only two changes are to eliminate the second lodging category and to change service to $150 and booth renters to $50?
Correct.
Okay. Is that clear to you? Okay.
It's actually, I'm sorry, do I have to go?
Well, actually, I'll have public comment in just a minute. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Sorry.
It's not being recorded, that's why she was having you up there.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
Is there questions from the council? Okay. Just to state for the record, the Business Improvement District occasionally, maybe like once a year, does business with the company I work for. However, that hasn't happened for quite a while, so I really don't have a conflict. However, I did excuse myself from approving the budget, and I feel like tonight we're just talking about changes to the overall
And there's no
structure.
action recommended tonight. This is simply to take comment. It's kind of a weird anomaly that's in the law that says you have to have a public hearing, then a public meeting, whatever that means, and then a public hearing to finalize everything. Which
Okay.
is on August.
All right. Okay. Any questions over here? Okay, now I'm going to open public comment. And just so you understand, public comment isn't unfortunately, you can't ask questions and go back and forth, but you can state your concerns or your questions, and we can definitely have somebody provide you with those answers. Okay, so if you want to come forward.
Actually, my question is more, it's...
And your name again, I'm
Jessica
sorry.
King.
Thank you.
Sorry. For the bid, if each individual booth renter is paying a $50 fee as well as the business owner paying a fee, where is our money going? Where is the money going?
Is that your only question?
Well, it's where is the money going? Are we going to receive an itemized listing of what it does for us since we're having to pay a fee? What are we getting from it, basically?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that your only
Yeah,
concern?
that's pretty much-
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and answer that.
Okay.
The Business Improvement District was created years ago to improve the downtown area. And so there was a zone that was created that it's kind of like a big block.
I've seen it on the paperwork.
Yeah, and there's an assessment fee for each business that's located in that particular area. The assessments are actually put into a budget that is determined, the expenses are determined by the Board of Directors of the Business Improvement District, and they actually have open meetings. They're under the Brown Act, which means that they have to have a public meeting that anybody from the public can come and get involved. As a bid member, thank you, if you are in that district, you are a member, you can go and provide input at any time. I know that Billy Kay has sent out information and asked for input all through this process, trying to get feedback from everybody so that everybody could be included. Most of the expenses that they've incurred over the past 10 years, just because I've been very aware, has been downtown improvements. Like last weekend, they planted flowers. They've done a lot of advertising and promotions to get people to come downtown, which, helps the businesses that are downtown. They've organized the downtown tree lighting. They've organized the downtown light parade. They organize a Halloween parade for the kids downtown. They
farmers markets.
They do, yeah. They host the farmers market downtown, and it's all geared towards trying to get people to come shop downtown. And so those are the benefits. Some businesses benefit more than others.
Yeah, as far as...
And that's kind of how the assessment is, supposed to go. Obviously, as a hairstylist or a nail technician.
For a booth renter, it's not really going to benefit us as far as...
Well-
we're service industry, so we're a client-based, so our clients call us, make an appointment, and then they come in and see us.
Sure. However, if someone is new to town and they're walking downtown and they come across your salon, they may...
Yeah, and that would be the salon, the business owners, because he's already paying into that. So as a booth renter, as an individual booth renter within a business, it's not going to benefit me as far as, it's not really benefiting me. And as far as flowers, we haven't gotten any flowers in front of our shop.
Did you take
We're
part in
on
the flower
I Street.
planting?
No, we didn't know about it.
Okay.
It's on I Street. It's right across from Delaware Off Supply. Is there a mailing list also? Is there a mailing list for all the booth renters? It's an email list? Well, what if people don't have the email? Well, it's BID's responsibility to notify everybody of what's going on. And where is that at? At City Hall? So we are required to pay a fee, but you're not required to notify us of changes or things that are going on individually as booth renters?
Yeah, actually, every business is sent information. Every business is sent the assessment with an explanation.
Each
I know that
booth renter as well.
every
Get that?
business was sent all of this information prior to it ever being adopted months ago. This is probably the fourth or fifth public meeting we've had regarding this whole process.
We're in Vogue.
Vogue Beauty Academy.
In Vogue Beauty Academy also. Yeah, also.
That's right.
No, but the salon next door will be. That's what I'm saying. If I'm going to be required to pay a fee, then I would like to be also informed of where my money's going and what it's being used for. Not the agenda. I mean,
Okay,
like a
you
budget,
guys,
like an accounting.
we can't do this. We
Yeah.
can't.
Okay.
But Billy Kay owns 6 Degrees of Celebration, and she's usually there in the afternoons. I would really recommend you just go talk to her. She can give you she'll get your email or your phone number or whatever's best way to communicate
Every
with
booth
you.
renter. I'm talking on behalf of a lot of booth renters that we've had discussions, and I mean, if we're all required to pay a separate fee, we should all be also informed of where the money's going, like an accounting report.
Absolutely. Where is your booth?
It's at In Vogue the Salon.
And that is,
I'm going to be on I Street now.
okay.
Just
So this is a
relocated to
business
downtown.
that does not exist yet,
Yes, it does exist, and it has a business license.
It's out of the bid district, though.
Yes.
but it's out of the bid district.
And it's moving into the bid district.
Okay. So you will become a new member, and we would be I'm sure Billy Kay would be happy to explain it all to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a arena where you guys can go back and forth and ask
I was just-
questions. Yeah.
Because I haven't been to one of these before. So
Sure.
I was just like,
Thank you.
I'm Dean Valero. I'm from the city, and Billy Kay does a wonderful job communicating with me as far as that goes. But I don't want to take on the responsibility of notifying my booth renters of what's going on or not going on now at this point. You know what I'm saying? Because I think Mr. Piercy said, when you're self-employed, they're self-employed, so they all have their own business licenses. So maybe if they attach something, Lisa's really good at explaining as well. But I guess what my question was the retail, is there a new retail assessment? I wasn't sure about the $380, I guess now. Is that part, I want clarification, I'm not even sure. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I believe you would be a service-related industry, which is $150.
But then if you sell retail within the business, it's another $380 as well. Oh, okay, because at the Beauty Academy, I pay workman's comp, and I only have 2 employees. Yeah, they quoted me $380.
Who did?
Lisa did.
Okay.
Yeah, she told me that's what it was. So I want a clarification for myself.
Sure.
I want to know myself, because at that point you're looking at 380 plus 100 plus whatever, and I understand. You guys have done a great job I've been downtown for many years. Never really had an issue. Now that I'm going back as far as my salon goes, and booth renters are having questions, and new students, I want to be able to tell them what's correct.
Sure.
So maybe
Maybe you guys could go to the next bid board meeting, and that way you can hash it all out.
Sure. But my thing was at 380. That was the comment I wanted to make about the
I don't have the
retail
rates in
section.
front of me, so I can't.
Okay.
I don't want to quote
Okay.
you the wrong
Sure.
thing, but they meet the first
and third
Thursday.
Thursday.
The first
First and third Thursday,
first and
8
third
a.m.
Thursday of every single month at Edward Jones on 3rd Street.
Okay, that was
Yeah.
really just my comment. I really wanted to know about that 300.
Yeah, I would suggest you all go.
Dean, do I understand that the salon that's out right on the 101 now, that's relocating?
That's going back into downtown.
Oh.
Because I was on 3rd Street, 848 3rd Street for like 14 years.
Yeah.
So now I'm going back. So, but Billy Kay, you do a good job. So she does a great job of communicating. So that part, maybe we just need to get a general email list of everything.
That would be
Sounds
great. Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none? Oh.
No, this is.
No, this is just for the bid item.
Yes. I'm Jackie Baker. I'm a retired hairdresser, and many of the people here have heard this story before. But I'm going to say it anyway. I think I have a right to express my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you live in the city or the county?
I live in the county. I worked at Wendy's Beauty Salon. And first, the city has a business for everybody, hairdressers and business have a license, and I agree. I think this is correct. The city council introduced the bid. There was a vote on it. Everybody voted the bid down. The majority of people voted the bid down. And then the city council and the bid didn't like that. So what did you do? You put all of us, there was 12 hairdressers at Wendy's. You put us all under one category. Your vote counts as one. They took my vote and everyone else's vote away from us. And if we have to have a business license, what right did the city council have to take our vote away from us?
Your vote for what?
For the bid. We voted it down. Majority of people did. And I think that was so wrong.
I think she's talking way back when it was first established.
Yes, I am.
93.
Yes. And so then, I guess it was about 14 years ago. So then, I guess all the businesses have to pay a fee. The buildings, I don't know if it was $50 or $75. Each business had to have paid a fee, and I agree. But then, what you're charging everybody now is what, $50? And you want to go to $150? And I think this is the wrong way you handle this BID. And I think the more money, this is not the right thing to do for people, especially right now. Okay, I think the BID needs to be dissolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Any other public comment? Patty?
Patty Piercy, I live in the county, business in the city, but I don't get to vote for city council members or anything. That always seemed kind of peculiar. I'm real unhappy with the way it's all going. I've been around since the beginning of time when they started it, and everybody's so busy. Billy Kay and Cheryl work tons of time. I've been there, I've put in tons of time with very little thanks. Cheryl doesn't even have a business she's trying to support. She's just doing it because she cares. And but we're also out there because of care. And in my business, I have Kathy Brown comes in for 4 hours a week. She has to pay bid fees. I don't appreciate it. Dale has to pay bid fees under mine. And I would like to see it just be the storefront pays the fee and not everybody that walks into the door. You know, if I have a juggler come in, a clown, does he have to pay bid fee? Well, yes, he does if he has a business license in the city. And Dale and Kathy had to get business license, and then also on top of that, they have to pay the bid fees. Just be, you know, Kathy comes in 4 hours a week. And I don't think it's right. And there was a bunch of ladies here that worked hard all day, and they ran out of time. They had to go home. And that's what, in November, the same thing happened. We were at, it was 8:30 before the bid came up on the agenda, and then they said, oh, we'll do this in 2 weeks. And I'd waited here all night when there's that other guy who said, there's a guy, he's been waiting a long time to get up. We've waited too, excuse me. But I don't hear any violins playing. These are tired people that worked all day. It'd be nice to have a little respect. I know you worked all day too. but I didn't appreciate the comment. And I'd like to just feel a little more supported by our city. And I don't. In fact, there's not many days a year I do. And there's been years that I don't pay my bid fee, and I don't like it connected to my license. I think it hurts businesses coming in. And I do think we should be able to pick if we do it or not. We should have to. Years ago, they got people to try to where we were all on board and we were doing something together. Now it's crowbar time, and we need to do that again. We need to educate people and make them want to be on board and do stuff. And when there's not a Billy Kay or a Cheryl watching over stuff, I don't want to be paying my bid fees to the city that I don't trust with my money. And that's the way it's been. The last few years, we have Cheryl and Billy here working like dogs to make sure everything's going right, but we don't always have them. There's been years that there's no bid people, and I don't want to have to pay it. And then I don't have a business license. I don't like it connected.
Well, first of all, I apologize for offending you. The reason that I offered to move Grant up was because our city manager had given him a 6:30 time for his item, and he had been here since about 6:20. So, and I knew that there was only one more item before the bid, and I did acknowledge Billy Kay, and she said she didn't mind waiting. So, wasn't doing that to offend you, and I apologize that you don't trust the city. So, thanks for your comments. Cynthia?
I am Cynthia Speakman, and I live in the county. And I'm here today to talk about the bid district. Just have a few comments that I'd like to make. I am a little confused to what our business licenses pay for as opposed to the bid. People are being told by Lisa at the city that they don't have to get a business license anymore because the bid covers that. That was told to Jamie O'Brien from North Coast Mortgage. And her license expired in December of last year. So she has no license, and asked me what was going on. I said, I have no idea. Another thing is, I think that the bid boundaries should be expanded. They should include all the businesses within the city limits. And the reason being is because we are a strip mall city. We don't have really a downtown. When people say they're going to town, they go to Walmart, they go to Ace Hardware, they go to Home Depot, and our businesses are strung out all the way from the south of town to the north. We don't have a downtown like a Los Angeles downtown center.
Thank God.
Yeah, I know. But if the bid is really going to be successful, I think it needs to be expanded to the city limits and include all the businesses. Because everyone that drives through town stops maybe first on the south end at the harbor. Then they go maybe to the center part to Safeway, and they stop there, they see the signs, they come to the downtown. But then they continue on north, and there's businesses up there that could benefit from it too. I had, in the last week, I'd say Thursday, I had 2 people drive into my parking lot and come in and ask me, they said, we're on a road trip, we'd like to know where the information center is. So I had to tell them how to get down to Front Street, and I said, you just hadn't driven far enough to see the signs. So something needs to be done to bring them further down if they're coming from the north. And that was 2 people. A lot of the questions I think that I have should be directed probably to Billy, and I'll be doing that. But I'd just like to see either the boundaries extended or the whole thing dissolved, and let us as business owners promote our own downtown and our own functions. because we're very good at that, promoting ourselves, Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Hi.
Hi, I'm Tony Stewart. I live in the county but work in the city. I've prepared something because I can get lost easily. But I thank you for the opportunity to speak out about the Business Improvement District charges, particularly the Class E services. As a cosmetologist and independent contractor working within the district, I would like to aid this council in the understanding of how the imposed fees has added another anchor to those of us who are already struggling to stay afloat. At one time, this industry in Crescent City was lucrative enough to make a living, with many stylists being heads of households or single mothers. But as the years have gone by, there are many more licensed stylists creating situations that have meant for some to take second jobs or giving up the trade altogether. And that was before the recession, before most families had to count every penny, and those were spent where they were most needed. As an independent contractor, we are still required to pay for our city and state licenses and self-employment taxes, our own medical insurance if not covered by a spouse or the state, liability insurance, supplies, and rental spaces that we work within. Just as the many business owners within the bid district, we are not afforded the luxury of sick time, of paid vacations, workman's comp, nor a steady income. These added fees came at a time when all businesses were suffering for the logic of beautifying downtown. And building a better downtown is a welcomed idea that may bring more folks in for retail at the very few retail shops that are located there. Our business depends on a local trade. We do see occasional tourists, especially during the summer season when they're here to fish, and everyone is in agreement that downtown is in need of cosmetic repair. However, a planter of petunias has not and will not bring a client to my chair. A parade of children has not and will not bring a client to my chair. The business district may begin to have some curb appeal, but the empty storefronts will not be pleasing to the eye when the businesses can no longer afford to stay there. So I ask this board to throw us all a life raft, the independent contractors and the business owners within the bid district, by reevaluating its decision to impose these excessive fees so that we can weather the stormy economy and stay in our present locations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tony, have you ever been to a bid meeting?
Well, we did. Yes, I did go to one. And
I was just curious
yes,
if you'd provided them with this input before.
Yes, I did, and that was
Okay.
before I understood that it was the city that needed to be addressed to.
Okay.
So I'm glad to be here today.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any other public comment? Hi, Jess.
Kelly. I'm Jessica Barbie. I live in the county, and I just wanted to state I'm not yet a booth renter, nor do I know if I'm going to be in the bid, but I am facing a lot of overhead. And just to have even another $50 charge like that brought up, for an annual payment is a lot to me. So booth rent, insurance, malpractice insurance, supplies, business license, all of it adds up. So I guess I just wanted to comment on that.
Okay.
For tonight.
Thanks. Another volunteer puts in a lot of time in our community. Any other public comment? Well, I just want to thank everybody for their input. That's why we're here, to get your input. The the Business Improvement District has accomplished so much in the past 3 years. When I first got elected to this council, it was really in a disarray, and the board of directors was basically Billy Kay and Cheryl, and they did a lot of work. But the biggest complaint was a lack of cooperation from the city. So the previous council and this council has worked really hard to get all of the bones and the infrastructure of the bid legal, in compliance with the ordinances of the city. The finance department has worked especially hard to bring everything up to date and to work with the business owners. And the new board of directors has really worked hard on communicating, with all of the members that are downtown. And I understand the frustration, the financial frustration, but I really would hate to see it go away, because there goes your downtown light parade, there goes your tree lighting ceremony, there goes your, the big miracle on 3rd Street where they kick off the shopping season to promote downtown businesses. Pardon me? Ma'am, would you like to speak? Because we have to get it put on record. And the children's parade, there's just so many things that they do. And they have tried to beautify downtown. I know the murals that are being put down there were organized by BID on the rock wall. So I know that they've just made so much progress. It's hard to, say go away now. But I don't know what the process is. I guess maybe a vote of all the members, as to whether or not they want to keep BID in place and keep those promotions, happening in the downtown area, because I can tell you without BID organizing them, they're probably not going to happen.
Yeah, but if those activities are not bringing business, then the people really need to decide if they want to continue it or not, and at what cost.
Yeah. Billy Kay?
If you dissolve BID, anyone that's ever paid into BID to the city can come back and sue the city for that assessment plus interest. So
how?
Consider
what do you
that.
mean by that?
What do you mean, what do I mean? I could go back and request all of my BID assessment back plus interest for the years that I've paid it if you dissolve BID.
I don't think so. Mr. Black is saying no.
Well, I'm
maybe the current year refunded or something, but because you can't, those dollars have been expended by the BID.
I don't think anybody, well, it was suggested that BID should be dissolved, but I think the subject matter tonight is what's an appropriate level of BID assessment for these different categories. And it's up to the city council to direct staff to come back to you with alternatives. I'm sure that $50 is one alternative for booth renters in businesses where the owner is already paying a full BID assessment, but there are other levels. You could direct staff to come back with a schedule of BID assessments with that particular category in blank, or we could come back at $50, but you could then change it when we actually get to the point of that decision. So at this point, you're taking public testimony, you're considering people's input and their ideas, and then later on you'll finalize the decision for the coming year.
Okay, but tell me how the process would go if dissolution of BID was put on the agenda.
Well, I think that the bid is dependent on city sponsorship, and so I think that your city council could probably, certainly, I don't know precisely how the process would go, but if bid was not supported by you, the city council, I don't think it could continue to exist. You could also put it out to a kind of a referendum of all the businesses within the bid zone. to
Yeah.
see- Yeah,
I think that would be a more fair process because I know there's a lot of businesses that do benefit.
right. So, I mean, I'm the city attorney and I pay a bid assessment. I don't have any walk-in business whatsoever. So, you know, I support the concept that every city should have a downtown. I think it's really critical. So that's just the way I feel personally about it. But there would be a process that you would have to initiate to dissolve the bid. I would not be, I don't know what Martha told Billy Kay, but I'm just going to, no one's discussed it with me before tonight, but I'm going to say that I don't think individual bid businesses can sue for all their back assessments. I mean, that money was spent, there was benefit in accordance with the purposes of bid, so I don't think people could claim all their back assessments. I think if there's money in the treasury, then, and bid is dissolved, I think that would be dispersed back proportionally to what people paid, that sort of thing. I wouldn't be too concerned about the legal consequences of dissolving bid. And as far as the process, if that's the direction you wanted to take, we would come back to you and recommend the process, what it would take legally to actually do it. For the time being, though, what I think staff is looking for direction. What do you want us to come back with according to the, what is it, public hearing, public meeting, public hearing, and then eventually you make a decision.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? Sticky?
I've heard some pretty incredible, Victoria Dickey County. I've heard some pretty incredible testimony and discussion, comments by the people who live here in town. I was extremely impressed with this cab driver. My belief is that if you allow people to handle their own money, that they're going to come out with some really good ideas. They're going to implement them because they want to. Richard Miles said we can plant all the flowers we want, but we have to make somebody go water them. Well, if you had someone who put those flowers in themselves, they're going to water them. If you create an atmosphere where people really, really, really want to be here, not next door, not Brookings, then I think they're going to take care of the streets outside. I can't believe that, you know, if you lowered the city licenses, I'm not talking about this bid thing, I'd throw that whole thing out, but I don't sit on your side of the podium. I'd throw all of that away and I would lower the business licenses. I would do everything I could to get everybody around to want to be in Crescent City. And I think that would generate the funds to not only replace, but to even improve the amount of cash flow that you have. But then I really do respect the individual effort, and I don't think you have to tell people to do things that are in their best interests. I think that they will. I have a lot of faith in the private individual, and I don't think government has to get involved in that.
Any other public comment? Sure. Billy Kay, the person, please come forward.
I live in the county, but I own 6 Degrees of Celebration. I think that that's very true. I wish that was the case in all businesses, but I can tell you from my personal experience last weekend and giving up an entire day to come downtown and plant that none of those businesses are taking care of their storefronts. I lived in San Francisco for almost 20 years after I graduated from high school here, and they, in their business license requirements and to operate a business in the neighborhood that I was in, I'm not sure if it's true for all neighborhoods. They're required to clean their sidewalks. They're required to keep their planters up. They're required to have a clean and safe area. And our city hasn't done a great job with that. And I know they're working on that with the tree wells and pulling out some of the bricks and making it more safe and fixing some of the roads, which I know there's been some flack in the paper. But mostly we're all on the same page. But if the city could do that job in enforcing the things that businesses should be doing on their own, then I say great, dissolve bid. But that's what bid does. And trust me, I don't have a lot of free time, but the free time I do give to bid, that's what we're trying to do, is make downtown better. It used to be a great place. I grew up here. Downtown had things happening all the time. And whether it was a business improvement district or just times were great, doesn't really matter. This is where we are now, and this is where we're living. And we need to come together as a community and not be nitpicking. To all you booth renters, you would be paying $150 if we had not listened to what your concerns were, not $100 or not $50. So for you to say that we're not doing anything for you is a little frustrating for the time that I put into this, because I'm here on a Monday night or a Tuesday night, usually a Monday night, giving up my time to answer questions for you and tell you what we've done. What else did I want to say? I'm talking too fast. Anyways, I would like to see bid continue. One of the things that you didn't, that I know I didn't catch your name, but you asked, we're trying to put in a surveillance system downtown, all of bids, so that downtown is safer and that Mr. Plack's office will have, when somebody breaks in our windows or graffitis our walls, we will have the backup to prosecute those people. There's some other things we're doing too, and if you come to a bid meeting, you can hear all about it. And we have the assessment report, which was presented a couple council meetings ago, which is public record, so you could get a copy of that from the city as well. Thanks.
Well, I have some of the new projects listed for the new budget, just for people's knowledge. Number one is the surveillance system in the bid district. Number two is more signage, banners, kiosks, plaques, and signage at the S-curve pointing to the downtown area. And then also marketing, branding, website, newsletter, Crescent City map, and hotel chamber handout pointing people to the downtown. So that's the projects that the bid is listing as what they would like to accomplish this year. Really quick, but just so you know, in the
I just wanted to say about Lisa. Lisa made it really clear that I had a business license fee and a bid assessment fee. So she did clarify that for me.
Thank you. Yeah, Lisa's very good. I'm sure the person misunderstood her. Thank you. Mr. Renfro?
Good evening. I'm Bill Renfro. I'm Executive Director for the Tri-Agency Economic Development Authority. I think that the BID is absolutely critical for the community. Having just relatively recently come down here, I understand that part of the reason that the downtown is in the condition that it is in is because there's been an ineffective BID in the past. And if the downtown condition is an example of what the individual business owners are willing to do on their own, there's a long ways to go. The downtown itself is the core for the city. Someone mentioned earlier that we do have a sort of strip community too, but that is our downtown, and it's sort of a chicken and egg thing. You're going to have to invest the money into making it nicer down there so that you can encourage new businesses to fill those empty buildings. So new businesses are not going to come down there when it isn't particularly appealing. So it's one of these things that's going to take several years of investment, a lot of hard work to improve it to where it becomes a very desirable place to have your business. And that's what I think the bid is working towards. And towards that goal, we need the bid to stay in existence rather than to go away. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Piercy, I believe.
Hi, Tanya Piercy, County. Recently, my mom and I went down to Arizona for 3 days, and we were in Phoenix and Tempe. And the first look a person gets at a community is really, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, the first look you get at a community determines whether or not you're ever going to come back to that community again. And Phoenix and Tempe were absolutely immaculate. I mean, it looked like they had just been through there with vacuum cleaners or something. Everything was not green, it's Phoenix, but everything was well manicured. And I think that when people go down our downtown, you know, they also get that first impression. People who've lived here forever, you know, it's like, it's downtown. But if you want people to keep coming back, then it does need to be taken care of.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm sorry. I'll try to make this more clear in the future, but when you come up and speak during public comment on one item, you're only allowed to come up once. I was trying to tell Dean that, but he ran faster than I could speak. So here we are. Any other public comment before I close? No, I'm sorry. If I allow you, then I'll have to allow her, and then we're here all night. But you're more than welcome. Pardon me?
I say it's only 2 people that raise their hands. It's the maximum of 6 minutes.
Yes. So you're more than welcome to call our city clerk and put anything further on the record after your public comment tonight. So I'm going to bring this back to the council. We've heard testimony and ideas and input and comments and opinions. And tonight we need to provide our staff with direction.
Well, I've heard enough of disgruntled business people to say that probably a vote or something needs to be done so that we get a better idea of what the bid people want, the business people want.
Dennis?
The only thing I would ask is that I kind of agree with Bill that bid is what's going to make our downtown. And if we don't have that business improvement district, I think it's going to be a detriment to the city, not a help. I know for a long time when bid was not effective, downtown looked worse than it does now. It did, and I think bid will improve the downtown.
Mr. Slurt?
I feel that bid will continue to make an improvement in our downtown, but I do appreciate the public input here tonight. There's a part of me that wonders where you folks were in the previous meetings, because we've had, like the mayor said, 4 or 5 meetings regarding these issues. Ultimately, downtown needs to reflect the people and the businesses. So I'm very interested in your input, in your thoughts, and the notion of maybe expanding the bid district might have some merit. Equally of concern is ongoing empty buildings we have downtown and slumlords that are actually contributing to the ongoing degradation of our downtown. So it's a complex series of issues, but I appreciate the input.
Catherine?
Right. Well, I've learned a lot tonight, and I do appreciate everyone's comments, and I do appreciate all the hard work that BID has done. What I also realized is that I'm pretty ignorant in terms of what a business license costs. So I would like to know what an actual business license costs for any particular business and what those requirements are. Billy Kay was talking about what it costs for, what the requirements were for when she lived down in San Francisco. So I'd like to know what our business license costs for any particular business and all that that entails. So I'd like to learn more about that for me to make an informed decision on how we impact our businesses, because it is an extra cost to our businesses to impose any extra fees on them, and I'd like to know how we can be of benefit to our businesses rather than detriment to them, and how we can be an improvement district. And I like the notion of expanding the business and improvement district without being a burden. I am concerned with what Patty Piercy said about having someone come into her business for 4 hours a day and then they have to pay $50. That doesn't make any sense at all. So maybe we could do some adjustments to maybe some of the smaller businesses within the business. I don't know, a sliding scale, or for those smaller businesses, like she does massages, right? Kathy does. So I don't know if that's even feasible, or...
Actually, it is already built that way. It's based on how many employees you have.
No, that's a different one. That's a service. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a different type of a... Yeah, she has to buy her own. So if it could be somehow amended for the smaller, I know the booth fees are different for the beauticians and the cosmetologists. I don't know, I just hate to be a burden to anybody. So I don't know. I'm just wondering how we can work it. I know that people needed to speak up sooner, and I know Billy Kay and Cheryl worked really hard. Patty too, and a lot of people have worked really hard, and I appreciate all the hard work that you've done. So those are my thoughts.
The business license is also dependent on how many employees you have, right?
That's correct.
And let's just off the top of your head, the average business license in the city limits, $60 to $100 a year, I think.
We'll get the full schedule to the full council.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have an interesting board meeting. Some of the other things, just because we seem to have some people here that are in or near the bid that have an interest, but maybe have not participated or made or informed themselves. Some of the other things that they're doing this year includes florals and paintings for beautification, the 3rd Street tile wall murals, the Christmas parade and tree lighting. I just wanted to make sure I covered everything because there's a list now in front of me. The Halloween parade, the farmers market, the installation of the surveillance system, new signage, and then marketing to promote all of those events. So I know that when the bid has any kind of event downtown and markets it, there's a much bigger influx of people downtown. And it's very nice and vibrant to see downtown alive and full of people shopping. And I know, from my experience, when they do have promotions downtown, many of the business owners tell me it's one of the best days they've ever had. Pardon me? Sure. Well, I know in the past we've any business that is open during the promotions, for instance, I'm just going to talk about my company. When we've done the live broadcasts downtown for the Miracle on 3rd Street as an example, and I remember working my butt off going to every single business and trying to talk to them ahead of time about the promotion that was going to happen, and that we were going to be available to come in and promote your business. Any business that was open during that time, we went inside and actually did a live remote, and promoted their business. Every single business, literally, we were running from business to business to get every business covered, and out on both of our radio stations, just to let people in town know what was happening downtown. And it was exciting, and there were hundreds of people downtown shopping, and so I hate to see all that go away.
How many days a year would you do something like that?
That was I'm just giving an example of one promotion.
Okay.
Ma'am, if you'd like to comment, I'd like you to please come to the podium. Thank you. Hi, Jackie. We just have to have it on record if you want to make a public comment. So we have to have, we can't, it doesn't get recorded if you don't come to the microphone. So, and we've been to Wendy's too. Okay. Well, it sounds like the bid needs to have some discussion. And if you feel strongly about dissolving your improvement district for your downtown area, if you do not want it to be improved, if you do not want promotions to happen downtown, if you feel that strongly about it for your $50 or whatever your fee is, then go to the meeting and come up with some kind of a process on making that happen. Because I personally am not going to dissolve it, but the business members, I think it's their responsibility to decide if they want it or not. I don't feel like I should have the power to do that. So, okay. Anything else?
So
Pardon me? Totally going off rules anyway. So come on forward. So can you say that into the microphone?
I'm Vivian Nimrod. I work at Beauty Secrets.
Vivian Nimrod, and she works at Beauty
I
Secrets.
live in the county. And as you were saying about the businesses benefiting from this, it's the business owners. The booth renters, there are 9 salons in the bid. That's a lot of competition there. And in our situation, it's our owner that benefits. She sells retail, jewelry, products. The booth renters are not benefiting from it, really. I sat and watched the parade from the salon, waiting for someone to come in, and they didn't. So it's only $50, yes, but it's a lot of $50. And I just can't see justifying it. Where does the $42.50 go?
42.
Business license, yeah. Where does that go?
Our city manager can tell you that.
Yeah. Business license is a general fund revenue, so it goes into the general tax receipts of the city to pay for police, fire, parks, street maintenance.
Parks maintenance, isn't that part of what the bid is proposing to do?
Not so much. They're talking about doing some public landscape maintenance in the bid area, but I'm talking about the maintenance for the major city parks, landscape, mowing the lawns and taking care of it.
So what he's saying is a business licenses goes into the general fund, and our general fund pays for your police department, your fire department, all of our street maintenance in the city limits, and our parks. Street lights. So for that $42.50, you're getting access to, police protection and fire protection.
I agree with paying that.
Yeah.
But I worked in the county for many years, and I paid nothing.
Right. The county doesn't charge a business license fee. although
And
they
how-
were
how was
actually
this-
just discussing about implementing it.
How were these parades and things financed before the bid?
They weren't downtown before bid.
I've worked downtown for about 4 years now, 5 years. I didn't hear about the bid until this year.
It's been in existence since 1993. So I think part of what's happening is that the city, the mayor mentioned this earlier, the city is trying to work with the bid board to make it a healthier functioning organization.
Like
And
I
for a
said,
lot of years, it wasn't
I
necessarily.
think it is a good thing. I think it's a great idea. But to fall on the backs of booth renters, it's not beneficial to us. It's the owners,
I think that's one of the reasons tonight we're here, is because we're lowering your fee from $150 to $50, if I'm understanding correctly.
It was only 50 last year. Like I said, I feel like for it to be on the backs of the booth renters is, it's too much. It's the salon owners, it's the business owners, it's the people that walk through Inateca and Sherry's and those businesses and our business that purchase things from the owners of the businesses. So as renters, I think that we should be exempt from it.
Okay, thank you. Any more public comment from anybody that has not spoke? Okay, I'm closing public comment. Any direction from council to staff?
I think the things that have been mentioned previously are appropriate, and I think also BID has to have ongoing meetings and dialogue. There's been a good deal of input here this evening, and let the people speak their voice.
No. I'm talking about dissolving. That I think that you need to provide, if you don't want bid to take place in your downtown, I think you need to talk to the bid board of directors. The board of directors then reports to us and would ask us then to do some kind of a dissolution vote of all the members. I think that that's where it should start, is from the members itself. Does that make sense? No? You want to be in the bid, you don't want it dissolved, but you don't want to pay. Okay. It's a catch-22. Okay. All right, we'll try to make progress on this.
So I think staff is looking for direction to return to you with the schedule of fees that Billy Kay presented, or something different. Even if you direct us to come back with what she presented, you still can change that. But you need a base. You need a base to start from talking and to ground your decision. So we can just take that as direction if you wish.
Have the booth renters offered an alternative amount?
Some did.
Not
zero.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than zero?
They used to split it in half too, and it wasn't quite as painful, half year, half year. Now it's all one lump, along with your business license. Excuse me for speaking.
could we detach it from the business license? And
We worked really hard to get them going together.
This
because,
council just chose to do that.
Yeah, and the collection.
well, I just heard from Patty, and that's why
Sure.
I suggested that.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of reasons from an efficiency standpoint and from a collections standpoint that we wanted to link those.
Yeah. Well, because we were getting invoices from companies, like for buying flowers or whatever their expenses were. And the city was having to float that money until the bid could actually get the collections to come in. And sometimes they were way past due. Some people weren't paying at all. And so we had to try to clean up that process.
Yeah, part of the problem is to keep the city's expenses down in the administration of the bid, so that we don't end up spending more on our accounting and our legal than the bid is actually collecting. That's very important. So it was streamlined to put the two together.
Okay. Thank you again to everybody for your input. I am going to go back to item number 11 now. And consider and approve payment 37 for Wallen Construction and Stover Engineering for the wastewater treatment plant.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Could you please pull the vote? Actually, is there any public comment? Seeing none, please pull the vote.
Councilmember Westfall?
No.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Councilmember Murray?
Yes.
Councilmember Slurt?
Yes.
And Mayor Shalon?
Yes, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 14, designating voting delegates and alternates for the League of California Cities, taking place in San Diego, September 15th through the 17th. Mr. Butler?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, the annual conference is coming up in just a little more than 2 months. League of California Cities Conference. It's back in Southern California this year, down in San Diego. Each year we are asked by the league to designate at least one voting delegate and one voting alternate for the conference, and to submit that to them by August 20th. So this year we are certainly, we've budgeted to have at least one member of the council attend, and we would like to go ahead tonight and have you decide who the voting delegate is going to be and who the alternate will be, so that we can go ahead and report that to the league in time for that August 20th deadline.
And the alternate would go if the first designated person could not?
That's right.
Okay.
And this is for the big, they do a big annual business meeting. It's usually the last day of the conference, and we'll be back to you probably sometime in August. They release what's called the resolutions packet, where they provide information on what will be voted on.
Right.
You'll remember, I think, around
Yeah.
August of last year we talked about that. But this is just basically to decide who will be going and who will be voting.
Who's going?
Isn't Madam Mayor, aren't you the representative for the?
League of Cities? I am.
I would nominate the mayor.
Well, I'm willing to go, but I didn't want to just say I was going.
Since you're the representative, I would nominate the mayor.
I would second that.
Okay, and is there any of you that would be able to go in my place as the alternate? Mr. Slurt?
I'm going to be in Orange County on September 14th to the 21st.
You want to just hop on over to San Diego?
I'd be happy to, but this is regarding a couple family issues,
Oh,
so
okay.
I would be tied up.
Okay.
Stomping ground.
Dennis?
I won't be available.
Anybody?
Rod, are you going?
He's not available.
Not planning to at this point.
Okay.
Would you be the alternate?
Yeah, sure.
So if I could not go for some reason, you could go?
I could.
I think it's important that you...
Yeah, Plaque and I are.
Yeah. Mrs. Piercy will go. Okay. Can I get a motion then?
Is that part of your motion, Charles, to have alternate and delegate?
Yeah.
Yes.
For Mr. Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's part of your motion then?
Sure.
Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, receive and file the staff training update for the first half of calendar year 2010. I like this agenda item. Our city manager, has really been instrumental in not just moving our city forward, but doing some pretty creative and progressive things. Number one being the New Generation group, I think has been a great compliment to the city. And he has also implemented a process that really encourages our employees to take on some leadership roles and stay up and updated with their training. And so he thought he would provide us with the what our staff's been up to as far as training and moving things forward. So I think it's a good thing.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is an item that we'll probably just put on the consent calendar in the future, but we wanted to bring it to your attention, have it on the new business calendar for tonight. I also wanted to make sure that Laura Haben got some kudos and some moments in the sun, because she is instrumental in our coordinating a lot of our staff training. So she put the actual listing together that's on the back page there. And you'll see for the first half of 2010 that there have been a variety of training opportunities for staff. We have the topics listed there, the number of employees that have attended, and it ranges, there was a lot of emphasis early in the year on disaster service, worker training, FEMA training for emergency preparedness, living along the fault line, or living on the fault line along the coast. And of course that culminated all in the big tsunami preparation drill in March. We had state-required sexual harassment prevention training, and I know we had about a total of 17 management and supervisory employees attend that. We had ethics training. I remember at least one elected official participated in that this year. That is also required by a state assembly bill. And a lot of this training was provided at no additional cost to the city through some of the organizations that we are members of, the Small Cities Organized Risk Effort and the Northern California Safety Consortium. So we try to take advantage of the training that's provided by these organizations whenever we can. So just kind of a receive and file item, wanted to keep you updated, and we'll do this probably every quarter, put it on the consent calendar, and we're always glad to answer any questions you might have about that.
I had one quick question. Is sexual harassment prevention training required to have all employees attend?
For management and supervisory employees, that's that Assembly Bill 1825. It's every 2 years.
But not
mandatory.
regular employees?
No, the only mandatory requirement is for management and supervisory employees. It's not a bad idea to have all your employees go through it, but the way the state law was written, it's just anyone supervising other employees.
Okay. Our company, we're all required.
I would think if this was an exhaustive list, all the departments that are trained in labs and first aid for lifeguards and
sure, there's a lot of
safety trainings for maintenance and
a lot of stuff on here.
CPR and stuff is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Sure,
probably goes on and on and
sure, a lot in the. In fact, you got a chance to hear when we had the fire focus meeting back in May. That's a training has been a huge area of emphasis for Chief Wakefield over this last year.
Huge.
So, this is not by any means exhaustive.
Right, like our wastewater treatment plant operators have been going through hours and hours and days of training.
That's right.
Like I was mentioning, that Barry Garrity, who's providing the training, which is great.
Nice, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I think is really cool is that almost 100% of our employees have attended the disaster kinds of awareness programs. So that's good.
Yeah, and we're really proud of some of the employees who work in the field most of the day for their jobs and don't necessarily have a lot of computer exposure. These FEMA classes were online training. And so we had to create some workstations for these employees to come in and actually do this computer training. And without a lot of griping or whining, they came in, learned what they had to learn, and got it completed with their online learning. So that was, I wanted to give them some kudos as well for those Public Works employees that don't always work with computers a lot, but had to do that to comply with this training.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay. Consider and select a date for City Council workshop for the CDBG program and related grant opportunities.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of the council, you'll recall at the last meeting, the June 21st meeting, a lot of your jaws dropped when Charlene mentioned that she had a 30-minute PowerPoint or 45 minutes PowerPoint. And we quickly decided that we would rather do that as part of a special workshop on CDBG rather than do it that evening. So we actually have several important things to talk to you about aside from just that PowerPoint presentation that relate to the CDBG program, grants in general, the process in the future for involving the council earlier on in these public service program allocations. So we have some good suggestions to make and wanted to get your input on a lot of things that relate to this whole world of CDBG and grant opportunities. We're looking at, there's nothing super time sensitive to any of this. We do want to get it done before we get into the holidays, but we had 2 dates in mind, one being Monday, August 30th, and one being, if that's not good, Monday, September 27th. These would be kind of our standard off council meeting Monday workshops, 5 o'clock start times at the fire hall, and we're looking at probably 90 minutes total. So I wanted to get your feedback on those two. August, Monday the 30th.
How are you guys on the 30th?
Be right here.
Looks
Or
okay.
the fire hall.
It's okay with you, Donna?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we'll book
Gonna
that
do a
for
5 o'clock?
Yeah, 5 o'clock start time. No more than, we'll say 90 minutes to 2 hours.
No more than 2 to 6 hours?
No, 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Oh.
Okay. Great. All right, moving on. Legislative matters, Mr. Butler?
Just kind of tracking the state budget process as we get information from the League of California Cities. It's all very vague at this point in terms of its impact on cities. The one good news thing, and I think you have all been made aware of, is that the League of California Cities did qualify its local revenue protection measure for the November 2010 ballot. So, in fact, we now know that it will be Proposition 22, and we'll be talking to you more about that as we get closer to November. But they got way more signatures than they needed, and I think they anticipate, a good level of support for that.
Which is excellent news, although it doesn't mean Schwarzenegger won't take it anyway. As far as legislative matters, I'm going to ask that we put an agenda item on our next meeting to support our local fishermen. I have been given several letters, a couple that the Board of Supervisors have written, and also some backup data that I'll provide to you, Rod, so we can do a letter of support for the council to consider. And reports, concerns, referrals. Mr. Slurt?
I'd like to offer a big thanks to the police chief and his officers for a safe and sane 4th of July. It seemed like we had the biggest crowd I've ever seen here in 10 years' time, and it seemed to be relatively civil. So I appreciate the efforts on our chief and our police department.
You weren't answering the dispatch. It wasn't so civil.
From my vanishing point.
Yes.
Any reports of illegal fireworks? No, sorry. Sorry.
That's okay.
I think there were obviously still quite a few illegal fireworks, but I think that the education was out there, and I think we've made progress, and there were no injuries, and not any substantial fires or anything this year, which is new, because every year there's a fire, beach fires, house fires, and so I don't think we had any major incidents, which I think is progress. I can give you some addresses, though, for illegal fireworks. I almost called you about midnight.
Sheriff's office.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I'd also like to salute our grand jury for the service that they performed this past year. And I think that it indicates that the city is actually running quite well. I didn't see any indications of corruption or conspirators identified by the grand jury.
Is there a new report out or something that I missed?
There is.
Yeah, last Saturday.
Oh, well, I was on my deathbed.
And then I happened to run into former Mayor Irene Tynes, and she flagged me down, and she just said, "Charles, I want to tell the council and the city that the city has never looked better ever." And she was just thrilled about it, and she swears she's going to come here and tell us personally that I would offer that. It was a great fireworks show. It was nice to be able to see the fireworks. I think everybody deserves a great applaud for doing a great job dealing with so many people and a variety of activities. I'm excited to see what happens with the TOT, because I think it'll indicate that there was a lot of visitorship here visiting us and participating. The other thing is I'm frustrated, and a couple of my colleagues sit on the local transportation board, that we had to actually give up $28,000 to use it or lose it, and we couldn't use it so it was called de-obligation. And so in the future, to the degree that we can minimize that and use all the funds that we have available to us for the city, that would be desirable.
Could you expand on that, because I don't know what you're talking about?
I think the city, we had allocated so much funds, ARA funds, for the street improvements. I'm thinking maybe it was the D Street or H Street improvements.
H and 5th Street from Wendell to A.
And
the projects that are in.
The bids came in lower, so the money was left over, and there wasn't an adequate time to reallocate it, because it has to go through a whole long process to be validated by the state, I believe. So the money was just lost, and that also happened on the part of the county to the tune of about $77,000, I think. So collectively, our community lost a good chunk of money.
Well, I would say the good news is the bids came under and we were able to complete the jobs. I guess, on the other hand, they could have come over and we wouldn't have had all the funding.
Right.
I don't see that as being a fault of anybody's.
No, it's just if we had other projects identified and we knew it earlier in advance, then we would be able to reallocate those funds to the benefit of the city.
The other thing is to always over-apply, so you'll always have a project waiting, so you can reauthorize the funds to a different project.
And then I attended on Saturday the First Harbor Lights annual auto show, which seemed to be a huge success. And I appreciated everybody's efforts for that. Seemed to be well attended. And the historic diversity of the show was, I think, well received. So big kudos to that whole Harbor Lights effort. And I'd like to salute the city staff and Eric Taylor in particular for the effort for the Prop 84 North Coast Maritime Museum or Maritime Center grant application, which was put in on the 30th of June, a huge effort and well done.
Great.
And I would propose that Mr. and Mrs. Burns have a wonderful vacation.
Yeah, sure. He's not going to be at the solid waste meeting.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to leave it all on Catherine's shoulders. Just kidding. Go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah, I got some more ink in the paper because of that. I attended tri-agency for the mayor because she was ill, but I'm glad she recovered enough for the 4th of July festivities. And the local transportation commission meeting, as Mr. Slurt indicated. And I attended the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors meeting, and we were all getting ready for the 4th of July festivities, which turned out extremely well. So thank you, Gina Zatola and her staff, Sharon. They did a super job, and all the volunteers who helped, fantastic. The explorers and everybody who worked so hard, I think they put out all the cones, didn't they, Chief? And they had to put out extra cones because we had even more to consider because we were having the parade on the 4th and considered the churches that we were, I mean, there was a lot of extra consideration because the 4th fell on a Sunday. I worked at the deck party, and that all went really smoothly. So that was great, and all the volunteers who worked really hard on that. And then the 4th of July parade. And Jim and his staff, thank you. I thought the resurfacing made the streets look great. I think that I was so proud of our city. It looked beautiful, and the bid people who worked so hard the weekend before. I saw Billy Kay and even Richard Miles. He was out there planting flowers and whatnot all up and down the bid area, and it looked beautiful. So thank you to all our city staff who worked so hard, Rod and everybody. It was really, I was very proud of the town. And it was bursting at the seams with people. Friday was a madhouse trying to drive through town just to get there. I heard several banks had run out of money because there were so many people trying to cash their checks and stuff. And so
Wow.
I think it was
that's a good problem to have.
I think it was a huge success. So it was a wonderful event. And,
Thank you.
Yeah, so it was terrific.
Donna?
Yes, family and friends were very happy with the fireworks display, and the weather was clear, and if it had just been a little less windy, it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
A concern. Back in January '09, the city council got a 40% pay increase that was approved by the prior council. I've had a number of people contacting me. They want to know if it's legal to reduce that increase or part of that increase now until times get better. So I thought I would bring it up and see if that could get a legal question answered.
I don't know off the top of my head whether that is legal. There are rules regarding the reduction of compensation for elected officials that are incumbents. As we know, if you were going to implement an additional pay increase because the last one was 2 years ago, you could do it now, but it wouldn't take effect until the new council's elected. And it may be the same in reverse, that you could reverse it now, but it wouldn't take effect until the new council was in place. But if the council wants an answer on that, then I would probably have to come back to you at your next meeting.
The council is eligible for a 5% every 2 years?
5% per year.
Yeah, so it ends up being 10% that you can authorize every 2 years. And the reason that was a 40% is because the council had chose not to take it for those previous 3 years, I think it was, or 4 years.
No,
And
7 years.
7 years that they didn't take a pay increase. And so the previous council kind of caught it up. and it was budgeted. So actually, this council, before November, could implement the 10% increase, which would then take place for the new council that would be sitting in January.
Okay, what about a decrease? How would that work?
That's what I need to, I know.
He doesn't know.
I know the answer because I went through it on the increase. I'm not as sure about the answer on a decrease.
Does this council as a whole wish for Mr. Black to research that?
I think you have to look at dollars, not percents.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. People think I'm crazy for doing all I do for $500 a month.
I know, it's like, you know.
Well, the supervisors make $28,000 a year.
You make
Yeah.
500 a month?
More than that.
Yeah, more than 28.
They make like
30,000 a year.
38,000, I think.
They make over $30,000 a year, and we make $6,000 or $7,000 a year.
Seems odd that they do whatever they do with their salary, and the newspaper doesn't seem to mind. But you guys give yourselves a $130 increase, and it's like the end of the world.
You see, $130 times 5 is $600 times.
We make less than $600 a month.
Be that as it may.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's like 20 cents an hour for me.
It actually costs me to be on the city council.
Which is one of the reasons, even though people are justifiably budget-minded, it works against the cause of democracy to completely underpay elected officials. Just my, because that does limit the people that can serve. Each of you in your circumstances has found a way to serve, but there are probably a lot of people who are definitely qualified to be up here who can't do it for $500 a month, and are even less likely to do it to be able to do it if you don't take the pay increases as they're available. So, there's two sides to the argument.
Okay. Anything else, Donna? Dennis?
Just lots to echo what other council folks have said about the fireworks and the festivities and the deck party. The art show was nice this year. Some of the artists, I think, echoed the economy. They didn't maybe sell as much as they have in prior years, but people showed up for festivities because most of that was pretty much free. They could just go and have fun without paying anything. And also I actually talked to quite a few people from out of town. I think there were more people here out of town because it was a cheap place to come. They didn't travel to Montana or San Francisco. They came somewhere close, and that was good. A lot of people said the fireworks were the best they've seen in several years.
Well, yeah, because I
And
couldn't
those
see
were-
them for a couple
Right,
years.
yeah. That's what
Anything's an improvement.
The best they have seen in several years. And I'm sure the Solid Waste Board will continue to do the right thing, even in my absence. It's still a board, and the board will make a decision.
Yes. Well, I thought the 4th of July was fabulous, and one of the reasons it was fabulous is because we had our Public Works, Parks, and Road Department working their tail ends off for the last 3 weeks, preparing our city for the influx of tourists. And I saw them out there working all day long, cutting the grass, cleaning things up, weeding. I mean, just, it looked so nice. And then with the addition of the microsurfacing in most of the downtown area, it was fabulous. I'm going to say this now just in case somebody may be listening that has a concern, but our city manager is going to address this as well. We did not microsurface Front Street for a reason. What we did was we put an overlay on it to protect it from any further damage until we have the money in hand to actually reconstruct. That's what the city's been doing over the past couple of years, is holding public meetings, coming up with a final design, which we've now are very close to being having that done. We've taken a lot of input from our community and our residents about what they would like to see on Front Street, and it is part of the overall downtown master plan that we're also working on, or I'm sorry, beachfront master plan. But we know Front Street doesn't look good right now. It's in horrible shape. But for us to microsurface it at this point would be a waste of money, because we're hoping in the next fiscal year we are going to be able to reconstruct that street, and it's going to be at least a $2 million project. So what we chose to do was to just kind of put a temporary overlay on it, just to kind of keep it from deteriorating, did I say that right? Even more in the next 6 months to a year, while we're going through final design, engineering, and getting the funding in place to actually reconstruct the whole street. It was constructed like 100 years ago, and it's in very, very bad disrepair. Thank you. And so this council is very aware, our city staff is very aware that it needs lots of attention. But the overall goal is to reconstruct the entire street, and it'll be beautiful and not full of potholes and tree roots coming up, and causing the sidewalk to come apart. And so we apologize that it's, not in good shape, but we are working very diligently to correct that. And so we did not microsurface it because it wouldn't have done any good. So I just wanted to say that in case a couple of those people that have written letters to the editor are listening. And I think our city manager is going to maybe do a little PR.
Coastal Voices.
PR piece or something to speak to the editor of the newspaper and see if we can just address that so people are aware of why it's the way it is. But for the overall city, the streets look so much better. Reconstructing a street, we actually spent, a little over $400,000 on that project. Yeah. And we were able to microsurface about 150 city blocks. If we were to reconstruct 150 city blocks, we'd probably be paying $100 million. That's probably a little high, but it would have been multi-millions of dollars to reconstruct streets, 150 city blocks. So
I said it in jest, but at least Front Street now you can tell where you're driving. You can see the center line and turn lanes, and if you're going over the center line or not. As people leave establishments, they can know if they're on the right side of the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Any establishment.
So the Chamber of Commerce did a great job with the 4th of July, all the volunteers. I can't even tell you how many volunteers it takes to put that event on. So just kudos to everybody. I think the number of people were on the increase, and for very distinct reasons. Not only, do people enjoy coming here because we have a great festival, but some of our outer communities were not able to pull off their fireworks this year. And so a lot of those people came here. So that was, I think, a lot of the big influx. Smoking ordinance, seeing lots of people that aren't following the rules, and I know it's just because of a lack of education. So I'm curious what the progress is on the signs.
I'm going to have to follow up on that and see. I know that there were some that were offered to us by Mr. Woolsfeld and his group. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure where that stands in terms of whether any of those have been installed. So let me check into that, see if there are going to be enough to...
And I think I may be wrong, but I think I remember asking that we send out some letter to all the business owners within the city limits, notifying them of the new ordinance, because really, if a policeman isn't around to enforce it, it's really up to that business owner to let their patrons or their employees know about the new rule of the 25 feet from the entrance to their public building. And I did see a lot less smoking downtown over the 4th. There were a few people I actually went up to, and I did it out of courtesy, so they didn't get a fine. And just said, oh, I just wanted to let you know there's a new ordinance and you're not allowed to smoke in the park. And they weren't happy about it, but they quit smoking. So, but I mean, it's going to be a process, an education, and but I think the signs and educating the business owners are two things we can do to be proactive. Went to the pool pop fundraiser, and I would like to just ask that Rod communicate with them. We'd love to have a report back on how everything turned out, but I actually helped MC the evening with Sheriff Dean Wilson, and it was a great event, lots of people, and I know that they did quite well, and so that's going to benefit our city pool. Helped do a little emceeing at the car show, the first annual Harbor Lights car show, and was able to give a Mayor's Choice Award, so that was kind of fun. I chose a 1969 Dodge Charger with a Hemi, and it was beautiful, and got to go in a ride. The owner gave me a ride for choosing him. They were like, do you want to go for a ride? I said, heck yeah.
Yeah. Wade got to see you, right?
He did. That was fun. But I thought it was a great first event. I think they did a clicker at the door because they actually charged for the event. They had 2,000 people. So 2,000 people, and I know not all the people had to pay because I don't think they charged for kids, but they were charging $5 a head. And I know they gave a lot of the money to charity. The LRT received quite a bit of money from it, so that was great. The city did a historical display, so I wanted to say thanks to Robin and Rod and Laura and Jim and everybody that put those documents together. And I know Robin took her Saturday morning to go down there and get it set up, and Rod and I kind of tore down. Wasn't much to tear down because they already did it for us, but it was just a great joint effort and a great first event. And Bill and Kathy Gray, it was their vision, and they had great volunteers, and I think it'll just grow next year. Also at the fairgrounds is a new thing. They have a wishing well, and you can actually put your change into the wishing well, and all the money is going to go to the Family Resource Center for school supplies for kids. So if you're at the fairgrounds and can throw a couple quarters in, I'm sure they'd appreciate that. Sitting on the Delaware Solid Waste Management Ad Hoc Committee still, and we'll be moving into negotiations if things don't change. And so have several more very long meetings set up to work on that committee. And our next meeting's next Wednesday, the 14th. I guess that's really it. The parade was great. Jerry Hemmingson and I continued our tradition. And it was funny because we put the signs on the car and realized we had last year's theme on our signs. I forgot to mention to Fritz that we needed to have the theme changed. But we were still working together, honoring our past to work together for the future. Yeah. So it was okay. It kind of was fitting. Another thing I'm curious about are code enforcement actions. I know you said Eric was working on getting letters sent out to property owners. Some of the properties that I think are in bad shape have not changed. And so I'm wondering, when did those letters go out?
Yeah, I know that about a month ago a big batch went out, and I knew they went out because I saw some pretty fast reaction on some of the lots that were real overgrown. So make sure to get to me with any specific addresses that...
Well, the one that just I stare at every day is the one out on North Crest, where that low-income North Crest Apartments was going to go.
Oh,
it's like itself. 15 feet high.
Okay.
And, you know, the center corridor down North Crest still looks like crap. Weeds
Median.
everywhere. I could spend an hour and drive around and make a list.
Kids at work day.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would just, don't they only have like 10 or 30 days to comply?
Yeah, so I'll definitely follow up and see where that stands. Some of them complied right away, but
Yeah, well, I know some people just get busy, but to let your lot grow up over like 10 or 15 feet and
Yeah.
start to encroach out onto North Crest is
it's bad.
not good. And that's all for me. Our next council meeting will be July
19th.
19th?
Back to Monday.
Yeah, July 19th, and we'll see you then. Meeting adjourned.